Konoha, left eye Rinnegan, right eye Reincarnation. Welcome back, brave explorers of impossible worlds. We are excited to have you here to continue this odyssey together. Before we continue, everything you'll hear is pure fiction, so please don't try to replicate combat techniques at home. This wonderful story and all its rights belong to its brilliant original author. We are only the messengers of entertainment. Want another dose of adventure? Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a single chapter, and if you can't wait, our Patreon has exclusive surprises you'll love. Chapter 26: The Four Sworn Brothers in the Imperial Palace. Brother, after the bloodletting was finished, Tobirama handed the porcelain bowl to Hashirama. Hashirama, of course, wasn't afraid of pain. His inherent heroic spirit was ignited, and he gripped the kunai and slashed it forcefully, as if cutting a major artery. Blood gushed out, making Mito's eyelids bulge. That's enough. Mito took the bowl and used medical ninjutsu to stop Hashirama's bleeding. She thought to herself, is this guy an idiot? This kind of thing can be done in a roundabout way. Sister, it's your turn, Jojuan urged. Mito felt that she had never done anything so absurd before. Bloodletting and becoming sworn brothers with others were things she would never have even considered before. Today, she didn't know what was wrong with her. She had been inexplicably persuaded by the three of them to this point. Was this what they called a man's romance? Oh well, a little bloodletting is fine. She bleeds for a couple of days every month anyway. Thinking this, Mito held her breath and made a small cut on her wrist. She was proficient in medical ninjutsu, and ordinary wounds wouldn't leave scars. Heaven above, earth below, Jojuan, swear an oath. He looked at Tobirama. I am Tobirama Senju, I am Hashirama Senju, I am Mito Uzumaki. Today, the four of us become sworn siblings, sharing joys and sorrows. Sister, take a sip first, don't drink it all. Mito pinched her nose, took a small sip, and the fishy smell was overwhelming. Jojuan gulped down 3 large mouthfuls. Tobirama saw that there wasn't much left in the bowl, so he touched his lips to it. Hashirama's heart pounded. Mito had taken the first sip, and if he took another, wouldn't that be equivalent to the two of them indirectly kissing? With this subtle yet exciting feeling, Hashirama drank the remaining blood in one gulp. The oath of brotherhood is complete. From this day forward, the four of us are not just brothers and sisters, but closer than brothers and sisters, Jojuan announced. Hearing this, Tobirama found this little brother even more agreeable. He was very much to his liking, and having such a brother seemed quite nice. Well said. From now on, we'll share life and death, never to be separated. The speaker meant no harm, but the listener took it to heart. Mito's heart trembled. She felt a strange sensation. The four of them were sworn brothers, but Tobirama's words made it seem like a solemn vow. The thought of her and Hashirama's now unclear relationship, bound together forever, intensified Miro's strange feeling. For the first time, she felt that their sworn brotherhood wasn't so absurd after all. She couldn't help but glance at Hashirama, only to find him secretly observing her as well. They both looked away simultaneously, as if struck by lightning. Now let's establish our seniority. Hashirama, how old are you? Jojuan asked. 20, Tobirama, and you? The seniority was quickly established. Hashirama was the oldest, the eldest of the four. Mito was second, the second oldest. Tobirama was older than Jojuan, the third oldest, making Jojuan the fourth. My sister and I have a younger brother named Uzumaki Ashina. I'll introduce you to him another time. I've heard of him. Uzumaki Ashina is quite famous. He's the chosen one of your Uzumaki clan. It's said that he accidentally found several ninjutsu scrolls, such as the multiple shadow clone technique, Rasengan, Chidori, and so on, Tobirama said. Ha ha ha. He's just lucky. It's not that exaggerated. Jojuan was secretly embarrassed. He didn't expect his brother to become so famous for taking the blame for him. Time passed quickly. First, Kaguya came to cause trouble, then the four of them became sworn brothers. The morning passed quietly like this. A maid came to deliver lunch to Jojuan and Mito. Tobirama asked her to send 2 extra portions, and he and Hashirama simply stayed and ate together. Before they finished lunch, Uzumaki Rai returned. He was quite surprised to see Tobirama and Hashirama. There was still a faint smell of blood in the air. Greetings, Uncle Ryu, Hashirama greeted respectfully. Uncle Long, my elder brother and I just swore an oath of brotherhood with Jojuan and Mito. Tobirama informed him of the oath. Uzumaki Long was even more surprised to hear this. After thinking for a moment, He unusually showed a kind smile to his juniors. That's good. The younger generation of our two clans should indeed interact more. The future belongs to you young people. Uzumaki Long strongly supported the Four's oath of brotherhood and was even pleased about it. His second son was quite ordinary. To be able to become sworn brothers with peerless geniuses like Hashirama and Tobirama was a stroke of good fortune for him. All four were over 16 and of legal age, so their oath of brotherhood was not a joke. The clan leaders of our various ninja clans have finalized the details of the ceasefire agreement. There's a banquet tonight. Tobirama, Hashirama, would you like to come with me to the capital this afternoon? Uzumaki Long invited. Yes, we haven't been to the capital yet, the two readily agreed. Uzumaki Long then led the four out. The capital city was arguably the most prosperous and bustling place in the Land of Fire. The war had had a much smaller impact on it than on other places. Vendors and laborers were everywhere on the streets, and the sounds of vendors hawking their wares filled the air. During the war years, many refugees wanted to flee to the capital, but unfortunately, the capital's population had already reached its limit, and the daimyo sent troops to expel them, a move that was once very unpopular. Walking through several streets and alleys, the expressions on everyone's faces were more or less complex. In chaotic times, human life was cheap, and only in the capital could one see such a peaceful and prosperous scene. In other words, if even the capital was not peaceful, the Land of Fire was probably not far from destruction. Hashirama, I heard from Butsuma that you also want to build a village, Uzumaki Dragon asked. Hashirama hesitated slightly before replying, yes, I want to build a village composed of all the ninja clans. Throughout history, every war has been initiated by the ninja clans. If every ninja clan had a place to live, perhaps true peace could be achieved. Uzumaki Ryu shook his head. The idea is good, but unrealistic. Our Uzumaki village already has a hard time just absorbing civilians. Unless you become powerful enough to single-handedly sweep through the Land of Fire, those ninja clans won't listen to you, much less form villages together. Hashirama didn't refute this, he knew the difficulty himself. But it was his dream. What is a dream? A dream doesn't have to be acted upon, but it must be thought of. Jojuan chuckled beside him, brother Hashirama is so talented. Maybe one day he'll really be strong enough to suppress all the ninja clans by himself. Ha ha ha, Uzumaki Ryu glared at him, embarrassed by his second son's foolish remarks. Putting aside the possibility, even if Hashirama unified all the ninja clans with absolute force, he would still die eventually. Whoever ends the chaos, the prosperous era will collapse. Mito, Jojuan, walk every street and every corner of the imperial capital. When you return, build Uzushio village to resemble the imperial capital, Uzumaki Ryu said calmly. He didn't have Hashirama's wild ideas, his greatest wish was to manage Uzushio village well. Chapter 27 The Return Journey. That evening, to celebrate the ceasefire among the various clans, the daimyo held a grander banquet at the imperial palace than the previous night, with all the major ninja clans of the Land of Fire gathering together. If he had a choice, Jojuan wouldn't want to attend this meaningless banquet. He was eager to return home. His biggest gain from this trip to the capital was obtaining Hashirama's cells, and he couldn't wait to return to the lab to conduct his eye fusion experiments. After a few rounds of drinks, Uzumaki Ryu suddenly noticed something amiss and asked Jojuan beside him, why is Kaguya-Wasen staring at you, Jojuan? He turned his head and, sure enough, saw Kaguya-Wasen staring at him like a venomous snake ready to devour him. Because of Hyuga Rika, Mito explained for her brother. Kaguya-Wasen likes Hyuga Rika. After learning that Hyuga Rika almost married my second brother, he harbored a grudge against him. This morning he came to cause trouble, and in the end, Hashirama and Tobirama intervened and forced him to leave. Uzumaki Ryu frowned, feeling very uncomfortable. If it were just an ordinary member of the Kaguya clan holding a grudge against his son, that wouldn't be a big deal. But Kaguya-Wasen was the young clan leader, and his hatred carried considerable weight. Useless bastard, after a moment's thought, he suddenly cursed, exasperated. If you had your sister's strength, what would you be afraid of? Jojuan was both frustrated and aggrieved, thinking, isn't this trouble all because of my father's matchmaking? He doesn't even try to help me solve it, and he's blaming me instead. You'll stay in Uzushio village for the next few years. You can leave when you reach the Jonin level, Uzumaki Ryu added. Despite his exasperation, his concern for his son was genuine. Uzumaki Ryu knew that if his son was targeted by Kaguya-Wasen, his life would be in danger. Jojuan's eyes lit up at this, unexpectedly turning misfortune into a blessing. He precisely wanted to quietly grow stronger in the village. He had no desire for anything more public or conspicuous. He was happy inside, but mumbled a reply. Yes, by the way, you said you had a girl you liked last time. Who is it? Whirlpool Dragon suddenly remembered this. He'd been busy lately dealing with village construction in the clan building, almost to the point of exhaustion. She's also from our Whirlpool clan, Jojuan said, his eyes darting around, making up a story. Everyone's been so busy lately, I was thinking of bringing her to meet you, father. After Whirlpool Village is finished, Whirlpool Dragon pondered for a moment. Alright, he had indeed been too busy lately. Besides, his son was only 16, it would be better to wait 2 years before marriage. And since the girl was in the Whirlpool clan, she couldn't escape him. Seeing that he had successfully appeased his father, Jojuan secretly breathed a sigh of relief. But he hadn't expected that while his father was easy to deal with, his older sister was much harder to fool. After the Whirlpool Dragon and the clan leaders went to toast the daimyo, Mito's gossip-loving nature blazed. She swarmed around Jojuan, bombarding him with questions. What's that girl's name? When did you two meet? How far have things progressed? Faced with his older sister's relentless onslaught, Jojuan acted like a shy, innocent young boy, refusing to mention the girl once. This behavior didn't arouse Miro's suspicion. When pressed by Miro's questions, Jojuan would counterattack. Hoshiramini, you're here. In the blink of an eye, Mito would sit up straight, sipping the fruit and pastries on the table with quiet elegance. The banquet didn't end until late into the night, and the guests enjoyed themselves immensely. After only a short nap in his room, Jojuan was woken up by his father, who told him to set off back to the village. Uzumaki Ryu's desire to return was even more urgent than Jojuan's. It was a crucial time for the development of Uzumaki Village, and if not for the daimyo's invitation, he truly wouldn't have been able to leave for a moment. He had been at the palace for 2 days, and had missed countless hours of work. Before his departure, the brothers Hashirama and Tobirama came to see him off. True men are men of their word, their sworn brotherhood wasn't just talk. The two genuinely considered Jojuan their brother. As for Mito, her position in Hashirama's heart was even more delicate. Mito, don't overwork yourself, take care of yourself, Hashirama finally managed to say after a long pause, acting like a typical simpleton. Yes, and take care of yourself too. The Uchiha clan won't easily stop fighting, Mito said with a smile, tugging at her hair. I will see you next time. Goodbye. Hashirama remained rooted to the spot, lost in thought, until Mito's figure disappeared from sight. Tobirama waved his hand in front of his eyes. Brother, she's gone. Hashirama suddenly snapped out of his daze and exclaimed excitedly, Tobirama, Mito and I have become sworn brothers. My relationship with her has taken another step forward. Seeing his older brother grinning like a 20-something, Tobirama sighed. Brother, can't you be a little more mature? It's just a sworn brotherhood, not a wedding ceremony. Even if you and Mito had a life or death bond before, with your taciturn nature, marrying Mito will be as difficult as climbing to the heavens. Then what should I do? Hashirama became anxious. First, you need to be bold. Talk as much as possible in front of Miro and find common topics. Second, don't act like a pervert, always secretly peeking at her. The return journey was boring, so Jojuan whispered to his sister, trying to start a conversation. Sis, I feel like Hashirama seems to have a thing for you. Mito panicked a little, knowing the answer already, and asked, what do you mean? It means, haven't you noticed Hashirama often peeking at you? Don't talk nonsense, I'm serious. What do you think of Hashirama? Standing and looking, tell me, how did you and Hashirama meet? Nothing much to say, we just fought the Haguramo clan together. Tell me in detail. Shut up, good sister, please satisfy my curiosity, I really want to know, don't whine. It's disgusting. Jojuan grabbed her arm and shook it. Ugh, you're so annoying. Mito finally understood what it felt like to be interrogated. Annoyed by Jojuan's persistence, she shook him off, knowing she couldn't catch him anyway. Uzumaki Ryu noticed the siblings' subtle movements and his heart skipped a beat. Could Mito really be interested in Hashirama? He had a bad feeling. Mito was the most outstanding genius of the Uzumaki clan, carrying the banner of the younger generation. He had originally planned to match Mito with a talented young man within the clan, keeping the good stuff in the family. If Mito were married to someone from another clan, it wouldn't just be a cabbage being eaten by a pig, but the entire garden being dug up. I need to find some time to have a heart-to-heart talk with Mito. If possible, it's best not to marry outside the clan, Uzumaki Ryu thought silently. He had to admit, he was a really negligent father, always busy with clan affairs and never caring about his children's mental and physical well-being. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 28 New Eyes, Demon's Eyes. The group returned to Uzushio village that afternoon. Uzumaki Ryu, having just returned, immediately plunged into the clan head's building, while Mito busied herself with the village's construction. Only Jojuan remained idle, with nothing of note to do. After wandering around the village for a while, he sent a shadow clone to patrol the guard post, while his main body vanished into the earth, heading to a laboratory 100 miles away. He had a premonition that his eye fusion experiment would achieve a breakthrough that day. I never imagined I would obtain Hashirama cells in this way, Jojuan murmured, taking out a blood bag in the dimly lit laboratory. He had tampered with the bowl used for the Sworn Brotherhood ceremony. Hashirama's blood hadn't been fused with the three of them but collected separately. Now let me see what's so magical about Hashirama's cells. Jojuan walked to the operating table, tore open the blood bag, and slowly poured the blood into a container, extracting the cells. After studying the blood for several hours, Jojuan looked up with a strange expression. Is this the extraordinary nature of the sage body? He muttered to himself, his tone a mix of envy and jealousy. He compared his own cells with Hashirama's cells and discovered that Hashirama's cells contained astonishing active substances, theoretically capable of infinite division and proliferation. Compared to his, ordinary human cells were like two completely different species. No wonder in the original story, Madara awakened the Rinnegan after fusing with Hashirama's cells and used a piece of Hashirama's flesh to cultivate the White Zetsu army. These cells are truly terrifying. After this exclamation, Jojuan immediately retrieved an eye from the solution, a tricolor of red, white, and black. This was a new eye he had created a month ago by fusing the Byakugan and Sharingan. Upon its creation, the Byakugan's and Sharingan's ocular energies repelled each other. If Jojuan hadn't suppressed them with a sealing technique, the new eye would have exploded long ago. With such high activity from Hashirama's cells, they should be able to neutralize the two ocular energies, Jojuan thought, carefully following the experimental steps to extract some Hashirama cells and integrate them into the new eye. The experiment was tedious, and each step was extremely rigorous and difficult, requiring complete concentration. 2 hours passed in the blink of an eye. Jojuan let out a long sigh of relief. His shadow clone, holding a gauze cloth, wiped his sweat, acting as his assistant. The Hashirama cells have fused in. Now it's time to witness the miracle. Jojuan began to remove the seals on the surface of his eyes. His shadow clone stood ready, prepared to reseal if anything went wrong. The 8-trigram seal was released. The 4-symbol seal was released. The yin-yang seal was released. Soon, the last seal was also broken. Jojuan used his Kagura mind's eye to carefully sense the energy. Just as he had imagined, with the neutralization of the Hashirama cells, the two types of eye techniques in his new eyes no longer resisted or became agitated, but instead behaved very gently and calmly. Finally, it won't explode. Jojuan was completely relieved. His arduous journey to obtain the Hashirama cells had been worthwhile. This result made it all worthwhile. He rested for a few minutes to recover his strength, intending to experiment with the eye techniques possessed by his new eyes. The experiment wasn't difficult, just a bit frightening. Jojuan first severed the optic nerve of his right Byakugan, then removed the Byakugan itself, transplanted a new eye into it, and finally used medical ninjutsu to reconnect the severed optic nerve. Eyes in the Naruto world are that convenient, plug and play. He had transplanted many Sharingan and Byakugan during his research, so he was extremely familiar with this process. Open your eye, Jojuan shouted, channeling his chakra into his newly transplanted eye. The next moment, his vision pierced through the thick layer of soil, expanding into the distance. He saw earthworms, snakes, rats, and rabbits. X-ray vision, huh? Jojuan mused. After all, the new eye had fused with the Byakugan's eye technique energy. It would be abnormal if it couldn't see through things. Furthermore, the new eye's X-ray vision was stronger. Jojuan could only see 2 kilometers away with his ordinary Byakugan, but with a new eye, He could see 5 kilometers away. This should be considered an evolution. After experimenting with the X-ray vision, Zhou began researching other eye techniques. He closed his eyes and carefully sensed them, and soon he detected another eye technique. Illusion. This new eye possesses both the Byakugan's X-ray vision and the Sharingan's Jinjutsu. One is stronger than two. It truly lives up to its reputation as a combination of two eyes. After some exploration, Zhou had roughly figured out the eye's abilities and was quite satisfied. I'll name this new eye Demon Eye. It looks scary, and its name has to be scary too, Zhou decided, not intending to replace the Demon Eye. One Demon Eye was equivalent to one Byakugan plus one Sharingan. It was exceptionally useful. Suddenly, a strange idea flashed through his mind. Since the Sharingan and Byakugan can perfectly fuse, what about the Tenseigan and Rinnegan? Once this thought appeared, he couldn't suppress it. Zhou even imagined himself equipping a fusion of two Rinnegan and Tenseigan. At that time, he would definitely be terrifyingly powerful. Even Hashirama and Madara at their peak wouldn't be his match. After indulging in his daydream for a while, Zhou returned to reality. He realized he was overthinking things. Forget the Rinnegan, he hadn't even fused the Mangekyo Sharingan yet, let alone even remotely grasp the Tenseigan. Considering fusion of two eyes now was truly worrying unnecessarily. The road ahead is long and arduous. I'd better continue my experiment step by step. He busied himself again, attempting to fuse Hashirama cells into the Sharingan. It must be said, Hashirama cells were practically a panacea. With them as the experimental medium, the fusion speed of the Sharingan was drastically reduced, saving many tedious steps. Previously, fusing two Sharingan took 6 hours, now it only took 2 hours. The same applied to the Byakugan fusion. The efficiency was phenomenal. If it weren't for the limited number of Hashirama cells, he was even confident he could fuse all his remaining eyes within half a month. Over the next few days, Zhou focused all his energy on fusing the Sharingan. The 3-tomo Sharingan had now fused with 53 of them. The 3-tomo had become much larger and more curved. And the energy of the eye technique was more than 10 times stronger than a normal 3-tomo. It was very close to evolving into the Mangekyo Sharingan. In addition to fusing the Sharingan, Zhou would occasionally sneak back home for a night or two to check on the progress of the construction of Uzumaki village, worried that something might have gone wrong. As it turned out, his worries were unfounded. Under the diligent and wise leadership of Uzumaki Dragon, Uzumaki village was fully on the right track for development. The people were actively engaged in production and construction, attracting many merchant caravans from other countries to come and trade with Uzumaki village. Chapter 29 All-Out War. My father's management skills are amazing, and he's so dedicated and hard-working. Even with my modern standards, I can't compare to him, Zhou often thought to himself. Sometimes he even felt that Uzumaki Ryu was the only suitable candidate for the title of daimyo of the Land of Fire. At the very least, if you were the daimyo, the Land of Fire would definitely be in a much better situation than it is now. He decided to wait until the situation in Uzumaki village was more stable before urging his father to establish the land of Uzumaki ahead of schedule. Are kings and generals born with a special destiny? He thought. The daimyo of the Land of Fire is unworthy of the position, and the Uzumaki clan shouldn't continue to be his subjects, perhaps accepting the fact that his second son was mediocre. After returning from the capital, Uzumaki Ryu no longer had high expectations for Zhou and simply left him to his own devices in the guard unit. Any important matters were handled by Mito or Ashina. Zhou was more than happy with this. He thought being idle was great. He had plenty of time to pursue his unknown secrets and quietly make a fortune. However, Zhou's apparent leisure was merely a facade. While the guards saw him slacking off and sleeping in late, they were unaware of his many secret activities. Besides dedicating half his time each day to merging his eyes, he also used his shadow clones and spies to monitor the situation in the Land of Fire. Thanks to the ceasefire agreement signed by the daimyo, the Land of Fire had indeed enjoyed peace recently. The various ninja clans had ceased their hostilities, quietly retreating to their own territories, no longer waging war as they had in the past. But Zhou was far from complacent. On the contrary, he was even more vigilant. He knew very well that war wouldn't end so easily. The daimyo was using morality to coerce the ninja clans into a ceasefire, but some clans simply lacked morality. The current peace was false, suppressed. Once this period of suppression ended, a strong backlash would erupt, and the war that followed would be even more devastating. Time flowed like water. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. After a month of suppression, some smaller ninja clans began to stir, turning into bandits and plundering villages and towns. Wealth acquired through direct robbery is the simplest method, and it's unreasonable for wealth to be in the hands of the weak. The law of the jungle is the natural order. The daimyo realized this was a very bad sign and immediately issued a statement of criticism. Unfortunately, the smaller ninja clans had all disguised their crimes, lacking substantial evidence and vehemently denying everything. Half a month passed. The number of restless smaller ninja clans increased, and the daimyo's criticisms grew increasingly severe. Another half-month later, conflicts of interest arose between the smaller ninja clans, escalating from minor disputes to bloodshed, instantly escalating tensions in the Land of Fire. The daimyo ordered both sides to cease hostilities immediately. Another half-month passed. The situation in the Land of Fire completely spiraled out of control, collapsing entirely. The intervention of the larger ninja clans in the smaller clans' battles had far-reaching consequences. Ninja clans with pre-existing grudges and hatred unleashed their fury, wanting nothing more than to beat the other side to pulp. The daimyo's stern orders were drowned out by the flames of war. To have held out for 2 months is quite remarkable, Jojuan sighed, admitting that the fact that the various ninja clans could hold out for 2 months to wage war was beyond his expectations. Even the Uchiha clan couldn't wait for Uzumaki village to collapse and officially declared war on the Senju clan. It seems the Kaguya clan is also running out of steam, in the Kaguya clan compound. 3 months have passed, and Uzumaki village hasn't been dragged down by the commoners. On the contrary, it's thriving. Something must be wrong. Kaguya, furious, held a meeting with the elders. He was enraged. 2 months ago, when the daimyo demanded a ceasefire agreement, he had no objections because he was waiting for the day Uzumaki village would collapse. Who knew that Uzumaki Rai would actually salvage the mess? According to reports from his spies in Uzumaki village, the village's infrastructure was complete, and they had even harvested 2 batches of short-term ripening crops. Many caravans were coming to Uzumaki village to buy and sell, and it seemed they would soon be self-sufficient. Father, we can't wait any longer, Kaguya Musashi said solemnly. The Uzumaki clan's village was premeditated. They must have been accumulating wealth and resources for years. Waiting any longer will only allow them to grow stronger. Yes, Uzumaki village now has 40,000 inhabitants, a formidable force, the elders echoed in unison. If those 40,000 were all commoners, it wouldn't be so bad, but according to our scouts, Uzumaki Dragon is selecting elites from among them, teaching them chakra ninjutsu. If the Uzumaki aren't eliminated, they will become a major threat. We still have a chance. Now is the best time for a final assault. If we delay the war for another 3 months, we will undoubtedly be defeated. Good. Since all the elders think this way, let's declare war on the Uzumaki immediately. Kaguya made the final decision. The first battle, reclaimed the iron mine. Kaguya Musashi's eyes gleamed upon hearing this. He had waited a long time for this day. Uzumaki, let's see where you can escape to on the battlefield. This time, no one can save you, he thought to himself, his killing intent boiling. His murderous intent towards Jojuan was not without reason. His Kaguya clan had once allied with the Hyuga clan, and several years ago he had fallen for Hyuga Rika. At that time, Kaguya even repeatedly proposed marriage to Hyuga Tenfu on his behalf, but Hyuga Tenfu always refused, citing his daughter's young age. 2 months ago, after learning that Hyuga Tenfu had almost betrothed Rika to Jojuan, he was consumed by jealousy. When he proposed again, Hyuga Tenfu didn't use age as an excuse. Instead, Rika herself directly refused, stating she didn't like him. Kaguya Musashi gritted her teeth in hatred. October 5th. To many, it was just an ordinary morning like any other. Jojuan, a blade of grass dangling from his mouth, walked with the guards along a mountain path, carrying out their daily patrol. The autumn air was already chilly. Young Master Jojuan, a voice called out from behind. Everyone turned around and saw that the newcomer was a member of another group of guards, a rather ordinary-looking man. Jojuan recognized him but couldn't remember his name. What's the matter? Jojuan asked him. The clan leader wants you to go to the clan leader's building for an elders meeting. Okay, I understand. What a hassle, Jojuan muttered, then returned to the village with the man amidst the envious gazes of the others. After walking a distance, Jojuan casually asked, do you know what the elders meeting is about? The man shook his head. How could I possibly know such things? That seems true. Jojuan stopped thinking about it. He guessed it was probably about going to war with the Kaguya clan. Clan leader, what brings you here? The man suddenly exclaimed, looking ahead in surprise. Jojuan subconsciously followed his gaze. Taking advantage of his distraction, the man flipped his sleeve, pulled out a kunai, and quickly, plop, stabbed it into Jojuan's chest. Chapter 30 Demon Eyes, a first test. The man's lips curled into a cruel smile, but it froze instantly. Jojuan, stabbed by the kunai, exploded into a flock of crows, circling and gathering a few meters away, reforming his shape. What kind of ninjutsu is this? The man stared in disbelief, utterly shocked. According to his intelligence, Jojuan was only a special chunin, while he was a special junin, and the attack was a sneak attack. He should have been able to kill him easily. Why kill me? Jojuan didn't answer, asking expressionlessly. He was incredibly frustrated, feeling something was definitely wrong. I've been so cowardly, living a life of peace, and yet some scoundrel still dares to harm me. The man's expression flickered twice before he finally gritted his teeth and said coldly, as expected of the son of the Uzumaki dragon, even if you're useless, you still managed to learn a few advanced ninjutsu techniques, but unfortunately, I'm a special junin, capable of crushing you with absolute power. Uzumaki Jojuan, prepare to die. With that, he swiftly formed hand seals and slammed his hands into the ground. Earth release, array spike technique. The ground rippled like waves, and sharp spikes rose from the earth. Jojuan screamed in agony. Caught off guard, he was pierced through the body, crimson blood splattering everywhere, clinging to the spikes, barely alive. Ha ha ha, the man laughed loudly. A special chunin is just a special chunin, utterly pathetic. Ha ha ha, what are you laughing at? A questioning voice sounded in his ear. The laughter stopped abruptly. The man turned his head with difficulty. Jojuan stood unharmed beside him. You, the man looked as if he had seen a ghost. At that moment, a giant python crawled up his legs, as if ropes were binding him, pinning him to the spot. No. Let me go, the man screamed in terror, almost scared out of his wits. He couldn't understand what kind of monster it was. The python flicked its tongue, revealing hideous fangs. Its two snake eyes were a strange mix of red, white, and black. For some reason, after staring into the snake's eyes for a moment, the man felt his will blur, his mind becoming completely muddled. Why kill me? Jojuan asked calmly. I wanted to win Lord Wuzhen's favor, the man said like a numb machine, spilling his secrets like beans from a bamboo tube. A moment later, Jojuan understood the whole story. It turned out the man was a spy planted in Uzushio village by the Kaguya clan. His near marriage to Hinata Rika was due to the man betraying him to Kaguya Wuzhen. Knowing that Kaguya Wuzhen harbored deep hatred for Jojuan, the man took it upon himself to kill Jojuan and use his head to claim credit from Kaguya Wuzhen. Kaguya Wuzhen, it's that bastard again, Jojuan muttered to himself. So he's determined to fight me to the death, huh? The demonic three-colored pupil in his right eye slowly faded, returning to its normal state. The man stood there, stunned. There was no python on him. Everything he had just seen was an illusion created by Jojuan using Jinjutsu. He wasn't just under a Jinjutsu, he had been hypnotized by the demonic pupil. Once my Rinnegan is fully formed, I'll settle this with you sooner or later. Kaguya Wuzhen, you just wait. Leaving behind a harsh threat unheard by his enemy, Jojuan formed hand seals and first unleashed a fire jutsu, incinerating the man to ashes. Then, he used earth jutsu, turning the ground into a swamp, with surging waves of rock causing the ashes to quickly sink deep into the earth. This series of actions to destroy the evidence was executed with fluid, effortless grace. After confirming that there were no flaws in the process, Jojuan headed towards Whirlpool Village. Although the man had tried to ambush and kill him, he had indeed conveyed Whirlpool Dragon's words without fail. The man had clearly explained everything while under hypnosis. Whirlpool Village today was vastly different from the Whirlpool clan's territory 3 months ago. The village was surrounded by towering walls, dozens of meters high, with only 4 entrances in the east, west, south, and north. Jojuan entered from the west entrance. Walking along the smooth cement road, rows of neat and beautiful wooden houses came into view. Even basic infrastructure such as convenience stores, restaurants, and barbershops had been built. Further into the distance, he could see groups of civilians working in the fields, a vast expanse of green wheat swaying in the wind. What a wonderful whirlpool village. Jojuan couldn't help but feel pleased. The bad mood caused by Kaguya's lack of battle earlier had completely vanished. If he hadn't pushed forward a village construction plan ahead, Whirlpool Village wouldn't be in its current state of prosperity. The Whirlpool clan members would still be crammed into their dilapidated little territory. Thinking of this, a strange sense of accomplishment welled up in his heart, even if others didn't know. Half an hour later, in the council hall of the clan leaders building, Uzumaki Ryu sat in the main seat, with Mito, Jojuan, Ashina, and a group of elders sitting below him. Ashina was still young, and normally, even though he was the clan leader's son, he wouldn't be qualified to attend the elders' meeting. However, since he proposed and implemented the idea of building a village, no one dared to treat him like a child anymore. The Kaguya clan has declared war on us. Uzumaki Ryu went straight to the point. Early this morning, Kaguya attacked the iron mine in 5 directions. The 4th and 5th elders guarding the iron mine temporarily blocked the attack with the array barrier and urgently need reinforcements. Damn Kaguya clan, they're still up to no good, the first elder sneered. Our Uzumaki clan is no longer what it used to be. They dare to go to war with us, they're courting death. Actually, we could have abandoned the iron mine and avoided conflict with Kaguya. The 3rd elder suddenly said something unexpected. The iron ore isn't that important to us now. We just need to focus on developing Uzashio village. There's no need to fight with other ninja clans. No matter how audacious Kaguya is, he would never dare to attack Uzashio village. Some elders were taken aback, finding the 3rd elder's words quite reasonable. We can't avoid war, Mito retorted. Kaguya's war intentions aren't just to seize the iron ore, he wants to destroy our Uzashio village. Even if we hand over the iron ore, Kaguya will besiege Uzashio village, preventing all caravans from trading with us, thus causing us significant losses. If we still avoid war, then other ninja clans will think we are weak and easily bullied, and they might then ally with Kaguya to attack and divide us up. The 1st elder agreed. Mito is right. From the moment Kaguya declared war, we must fight back. We must not show weakness because we are afraid of sacrificing our clansmen. The elders who had previously thought the 3rd elder's words were reasonable suddenly realized their mistake and echoed his sentiments. Uzumaki Dragon nodded, glanced at the 3rd elder, and said solemnly, this time, we not only have to accept the challenge, but we also have to win a great victory. Let the ninja clans who were secretly laughing at us before understand how strong our Uzumaki clan is now. Chapter 31 Uzumaki vs. Kaguya. With a single sentence, Uzumaki Ryu succinctly shifted the focus of the meeting from whether or not to wage war to how to fight it. The 3rd elder fell silent. Uzumaki Ryu then devised tactics. The Kaguya clan would split into 5 groups, and their side would naturally also divide into 5 groups to counter them. After some discussion, it was decided that Uzumaki Ryu would personally lead the main force, Mito would lead a group, the 1st elder would remain in Uzumaki village, and the 2nd and 3rd elders would lead the remaining 3 groups. Ashina, being too young to lead independently, would join the 2nd and 3rd elders group. As for Jojuan, Uzumaki Ryu only mentioned him casually, telling him to stay and guard Uzumaki village. Jojuan understood that his father was worried about him being targeted by Kaguya Wisen, which was why he wasn't sent to the battlefield, and he felt a warm glow inside. The situation was urgent. As soon as the groups were divided, everyone immediately set off to quickly gather combat personnel. Sister, Ashina, you must be careful on the battlefield. Safety is paramount. If you encounter an enemy you can't defeat, run away. Before setting off, Jojuan earnestly instructed his sister and brother. Don't worry, 2nd brother, we will definitely win. Ashina was full of fighting spirit, his small frame radiating powerful confidence. Mito, on the other hand, warned Jojuan to be careful in the village. The people of Uzashio village were complex, and who knew which civilian might be a spy planted by the Kaguya clan. At the same time, she secretly resolved that if she encountered Kaguya Wisen, she would definitely kill him to eliminate this major threat to her brother. The elders standing by had slightly strange expressions. How could they not see that the reason why Uzumaki Ryu had Jojuan stay behind in the village was entirely due to his own selfish motives? What kind of logic is it for the clan chief's son not to go to the battlefield? However, such thoughts could be kept to themselves, no one would say it to their faces, which was understandable. In the elders' eyes, Uzumaki Shōsō was undoubtedly useless, destined to be a good-for-nothing, destined for a life of idleness and wasting his life. Uzumaki village, now large and prosperous, could afford to support a useless man. Tens of thousands of civilians saw the Uzumaki clan off to war, their eyes filled with reverence. They weren't fools, they knew the Uzumaki clan was risking their lives to protect their peaceful lives, and they desperately hoped for their triumphant return. They never wanted to return to their past lives of displacement and hardship. Uzumaki Dragon hadn't taken civilians with him on this expedition, mainly because civilians were too weak, unfit even to be cannon fodder on the battlefield, and burdened with carrying large amounts of supplies and provisions. 10 Uzumaki clansmen using the multiple shadow clone technique would be more effective than them. Ultimately, Uzumaki village was established too late. If the war had broken out a year later, Uzumaki Dragon could have trained a large army of ninjas from among the civilians, guaranteeing a sweep of the Kaguya clan. Hundreds of Uzumaki clansmen galloped out of Uzumaki village, kicking up clouds of dust. The common people prayed fervently, "God bless us, we must win this battle. The Kaguya clan is so despicable, I only regret that I'm not a ninja. Otherwise I would definitely be on the battlefield with the Uzumaki clan." The Grand Elder took a deep breath, clearing his mind of distractions, and calmly arranged the village's defense. Uzumaki Maple, you led men to guard the east entrance of the village. Uzumaki's Hakusen, you lead men to guard the west entrance of the village. One order after another was issued in an orderly manner. Each person did what they were told. The Grand Elder wasn't actually worried about Uzumaki village being attacked. Although civilians couldn't go to the battlefield, guarding Uzumaki village was no problem. If any suspicious persons are spotted approaching, fire the signal flare immediately. Yes, everyone responded and went to their respective posts. Zhaoxun stood on the city wall, dozens of meters high. From this position, he could see the Uzumaki clan running at full speed, the dust billowing and billowing, like 1,000 horses galloping. A sigh appeared on his face. The elders all regarded him as a good-for-nothing. In fact, if he truly lacked ability, he would have been happy to be a good-for-nothing who idled away his days. Unfortunately, he possessed great abilities. As a member of the clan, he had to contribute to the clan. However, his contributions had to be made discreetly, without drawing attention. After taking one last look at the smoke and dust in the distance, Jojuan entered the stairwell next to him, his main body going in while his shadow clone emerged. Father and sister are stronger than me, they don't need help. It's only Ashina who worries me, Jojuan thought to himself, using the 5 elements escape technique to stealthily move underground. He decided to help Ashina's group, sensing the chakra aura of everyone through Kagura's mind's eye, and following them from a distance. After running for several miles, Uzumaki Ryu and the others split into 5 groups, each with over 100 clan members. Ashina, the second elder, and the third elder were in one group, heading straight to the northwest. According to the intelligence Uzumaki Ryu had obtained, a force of the Kaguya clan was attacking from the northwest. We need to find a way to completely destroy the Kaguya clan. If they keep harassing us like this, Uzushio village won't be able to develop in peace. While tracking them, Jojuan kept thinking of ways to bring down Kaguya. He certainly couldn't destroy Kaguya with his own strength, but if he could link Black Zetsu to the Kaguya clan, perhaps there would be a chance. Along the way, Ashina and his group passed by battlefields of other ninja clans multiple times, including the battles between the Inuzuka and Aburim clans, the Shimura and Nar clans, and the Namokase and Gecko clans. Every battlefield was fiercely fought, with parasitic insects swarming everywhere and frequent, violent explosions, making Jojuan's teeth ache. They hadn't been far from the village, and the surrounding area was already engulfed in war. One could imagine how chaotic the current situation in the Land of Fire was. The daimyo's idea of using a ceasefire agreement to bind the various ninja clans was simply a pipe dream. The Uzumaki clan now only has grudges against Kaguya and the Uchiha clans, so they haven't intervened in the wars between the various ninja clans. They're simply passing through, heading directly northwest with a clear goal. Other ninja clans haven't caused any trouble to intercept them, and their journey is unimpeded. Several hours later, Ashina and his group arrived at the iron mine. From afar, they could see a huge 4-purple flame formation shrouding the sky above the mine, with hundreds of Kaguya clan members using ninjutsu to bombard the barrier. Everyone, be alert. Prepare for battle, the second elder roared, his voice rousing the enemy. Eager to kill, he charged ahead of the Kaguya clan members. The 4-purple flame formation had held out for half a day and was now teetering on the verge of collapse. The Uzumaki reinforcements have arrived, Kaguya's second elder shouted, kill them first before breaking through the barrier. As soon as he finished speaking, He drew his arm bone as a cleaver and clashed head-on with the Uzumaki second elder, who was wielding a kunai. Kill. The Kaguya clan and the Uzumaki clan were like two torrents of war, meeting one moment and colliding the next with earth-shattering force. Shikatsu Myaku, Willow Dance, Multiple Shadow Clone Technique, PFFT 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 PFFT. Chapter 32 Kaguya's Harp. As the Multiple Shadow Clone Technique was unleashed, a deafening explosion of energy erupted, instantly swelling the population from a few hundred Uzumaki clan members to tens of thousands. The sheer number of people was terrifying, making the 100 Kaguya clan members seem like a drop in the ocean. Other ninja clans would have been utterly shocked by the sight, but the Kaguya clan, accustomed to the Uzumaki's tactics, remained calm. They unleashed their Keki Genkai, Shikatsu Myaku, and charged relentlessly into the sea of people. PFFT PFFT PFFT. While the multiple shadow clone technique could create a massive horde, each shadow clone was relatively weak, roughly between an ordinary person and a Sharingan. The Kaguya clan members transformed into human killing machines, bones bursting from their elbows, hands, knees, shoulders, and buttocks, wreaking havoc among the Uzumaki clan members, blasting away countless shadow clones with every move. This ninjutsu is disgusting, Elder Kaguya cursed angrily. He pulled out his spine and hurled it with all his might, instantly blasting away more than a dozen of Elder Uzumaki's shadow clones. But the next second, dozens more shadow clones closed in, leaving him unable to defend himself. The Kaguya clan's Shikatsu Myaku, Corpse Bone Pulse, is exceptionally powerful, giving them a unique advantage in combat. This makes every Kaguya clan member a natural fighting machine, thus establishing their status as a major clan in the Land of Fire. In contrast, while the Uzumaki clan's adamantine chains are also powerful, awakening them is extremely difficult, even more so than awakening the Sharingan. Very few members of the entire clan have awakened the adamantine chains. In the past, the Uzumaki clan was utterly bullied by the Kaguya clan on the battlefield, almost always losing every battle and nearly facing extinction several times. They were only saved by the Senju clan's assistance. This situation continued until a few years ago when Uzumaki Ashina accidentally found several ninjutsu scrolls, which brought some change. The multiple shadow clone technique was practically tailor-made for the Uzumaki clan. This ninjutsu consumes an enormous amount of chakra. An ordinary ninja would die instantly from exhaustion upon using it. However, the Uzumaki clan, with their naturally vast chakra reserves, could master it perfectly. Using this technique, the Uzumaki clan staged a remarkable comeback, not only fighting Kaguya on par but also suppressing her. This was precisely why the Uzumaki were able to seize the iron ore from Kaguya in the last war. Kaguya hated the multiple shadow clone technique. After her defeat in the last war, she painstakingly gathered a group of clan members to reverse engineer the technique. They did eventually succeed in developing it, but it was useless. They didn't possess the Uzumaki's constitution, their limited chakra couldn't sustain the ninjutsu's consumption, and using it meant certain death. After many clan members paid the ultimate price, the Kaguya clan had no choice but to abandon the technique, classifying it as a forbidden jutsu and sealing it away in their clan's territory. 10 fingers piercing bullets. A Kaguya clansman aimed at Ashina, his 10-finger bones shooting out like bullets. Ashina swung his kunai, deflecting all 10 finger bones with a series of clangs, and then charged towards the Kaguya clansman. "You're asking for death," the Kaguya clansman sneered. Relying on the innate advantage of his Shikatsu Myaku, Corpse Bone Pulse, he fearlessly engaged in close combat. A huge bone spike grew wildly from his palm, ready to pierce Ashina. Ashina bit the kunai handle, rapidly rubbing his left hand against his right, and a blue chakra sphere condensed. "Die!" the Kaguya clansman roared, swinging his bone spike. Ashina countered with a Rinnegan. Boom! To the Kaguya clansman's incredulous gaze, his bone spike was crushed and destroyed by the Rinnegan, ultimately striking him squarely in the chest, sending him flying backward, spitting out blood. Ashina knew the power of the Rinnegan well, a direct hit from it would be fatal. Therefore, he didn't pursue to finish off the opponent, but instead sought out the next Kaguya clansman as his target. He positioned himself as an assassin, choosing whichever Kaguya clansman was the most ferocious, striking and then fleeing to conserve chakra. He quickly found another target, a Kaguya clansman around 20 years old, wielding a bone sword and wreaking havoc among his shadow clones. He located the main body of a Uzumaki clansman and severely wounded him with a single strike. Just because there are more of you doesn't change the fact that you're weak. What good are you? The Kaguya clansman sneered, swinging his sword at the severely wounded Uzumaki clansman, intending to finish him off. Spare him, a loud shout suddenly came from above. The Kaguya clansman looked up and saw red-haired brat wielding a chakra sphere, slamming it down upon him. In a panic, the Kaguya clansman raised his sword to block, but his bone sword wasn't hard enough and was easily crushed by the Rinnegan. Finally, the Rinnegan struck him squarely on the forehead, his head exploding like a rotten watermelon, his body falling straight to the ground. Thank you so much, Master Ashina, for saving my life, the heavily wounded Uzumaki clansman cried out gratefully. No need to be so polite. If you're too badly injured, you should retreat, Ashina said, casually wiping the blood splattered on his face before turning back to the fray. At only 13 years old, he acted like a seasoned warrior. Zhou Xuan, witnessing the scene underground, felt a deep sense of melancholy. In his mind, Ashina had always been an immature younger brother, naive and easily fooled. However, in reality, Ashina was already a true man, ruthless in battle, and in a few years, he might even be able to marry and start a family, completely independent and capable. The war continued, the Uzumaki clan using numerous shadow clones to wear down the Kaguya clan's stamina, with casualties occurring every second. After Ashina finished off another Kaguya clansman, he suddenly sensed danger as if by divine intervention and dodged to the side. Whoosh, 10 finger bones pierced the air, grazing Ashina and turning a large tree behind him into a beehive. As expected of the chosen one of the Uzumaki clan, your reaction is quite fast, a charming Kaguya girl, about 16 or 17 years old, mocked, walking from a distance. The Kaguya clan had excellent genes, the men and women were handsome and beautiful, all with silver white hair, and there was no ugly one. Who are you? Ashina stared intently at her. The sneak attack she had just made had already revealed considerable combat power. My name is Kaguya Koto. You should have heard of me, the girl replied. Ashina's wariness deepened immediately. He had indeed heard of Kaguya Koto. Kaguya had 2 children, the eldest son, Kaguya Musou, and the younger daughter, Kaguya Koto. Soldier against soldier, general against general. Since we are both sons of the clan leader, let's have a decisive battle, Kaguya Koto said. I've been waiting for this day for a long time. Kaguya Koto was extremely hostile to Ashina and had already added him to her kill list. In her opinion, if Ashina hadn't been lucky enough to find those strange and unusual ninjutsu, and then if Uzumaki Ryu hadn't promoted them within the clan, the Uzumaki clan would have been no match for the Kaguya clan at all, and would have been driven to some remote mountain village long ago. Chapter 33 Second Brother, I'm so stupid. Fine, let's fight, Ashina snorted coldly. Despite his young age, he was already a Jonin, and unless he encountered an elder, he rarely backed down. With that, Ashina drew his kunai and unleashed a flurry of shuriken, dozens of them raining down on Kaguya Koto. Kaguya Koto's beautiful eyes were icy cold. She fainted and used the body flicker technique, dodging the shuriken in a few flashes and arriving before Ashina. Such speed, Ashina was secretly shocked and stabbed her with his kunai. Kaguya Koto didn't use kunai as weapons, instead, she spread her arms wide, her 10-half-meter-long finger bones piercing through flesh like extensions of nails, far sharper than ordinary iron, fiercely tearing at Ashina. Clang. Clang. Clang, both were geniuses of their clan, masters of taijutsu. In a short time, they had exchanged more than 10 blows, each one dangerous and deadly. If you had awakened the Vajra chains, you might still be able to fight me, Kaguya taunted as she attacked. Unfortunately, you haven't. With your paltry skills, you're not even worthy of being my opponent. Ashina pursed his lips, focusing all his strength on the attack, completely ignoring her words. Kaguya was undeniably strong, her 10 finger bones moved with incredible speed and power, and Ashina was already struggling, sweat beading on his forehead. Kaguya seized the opportunity, unleashing a black tiger heart-piercing strike at Ashina's chest. Ashina parried with a kunai, but the kunai was swept away by the 10 gleaming, sword-like finger bones. Ashina dodged and retreated, but 3 bloody gashes still appeared on his chest. Fortunately, the wounds weren't deep, only breaking the flesh. If I take your head, the whirlpool dragon will definitely be so angry he'll vomit blood, Kaguya said seductively, licking the blood from the tips of her finger bones. She was incredibly beautiful, and with her alluring appearance, She possessed a unique charm. An ordinary man would likely fall for her beauty, but Ashina wasn't swayed. Ashina knew he had encountered a truly formidable enemy. His face tightened with seriousness. On the battlefield, life and death often hung in the balance. He had to go all out. Thinking this, he rapidly formed hand seals and uttered a low shout. Ninja art, multiple shadow clone technique. Hundreds of shadow clones appeared out of thin air, swarming towards Kaguya Koto. Human wave tactics are useless against me, Kaguya Koto scoffed, her 10 fingers growing another half-meter, charging into the crowd and tearing through the fray. PFFT PFFT PFFT, even Ashina's real body was no match for her, let alone the shadow clones. Kaguya Koto was like a female demon, a tiger among sheep, unleashing a bloodbath. Not a single shadow clone could withstand a single blow from her. In less than the time it takes to brew a cup of tea, she had blasted away nearly 100 shadow clones. Looking at the densely packed Ashina clones before her, Kaguya Koto curled her lip in disdain. Fighting them felt like an insult. Did you think I couldn't find you just because you're hiding inside a shadow clone? Sensing the chakra fluctuations of the shadow clones, Kaguya Koto quickly located Ashina's true form and leaped straight at him, the shadow clones blocking her path exploding in their wake. I'll fight you to the death, Ashina gritted his teeth, using the shadow clones as cover to unleash Rinnegan, colliding it with Kaguya Koto. Perfect timing. Kaguya Koto was eager to try. She had observed Ashina for a while and knew the Rinnegan's immense power. Many of her clansmen had died from this ninjutsu. She wouldn't repeat their fate. Poison Dragon Drill, Kaguya Koto cried out, her 5 fingers merging into drill shape, clashing headlong with the Rinnegan. Bang! A loud crash. Half of the bone drill shattered, and the Rinnegan disintegrated. The powerful recoil sent Ashina flying, snapping a tree trunk as thick as a bowl in half. Is that all? Kaguya Koto sneered, the bone drill covering her arm disintegrating into finger bones. Ashina's strength was far inferior to hers, she was absolutely confident she could kill him. Then I'll take your head to meet Uzumaki Dragon. As soon as she finished speaking, 10 finger bones shot out. Ashina used the substitution jutsu, only to be blasted into a rotten piece of wood, his real body quickly fleeing into the distance. Joshua nodded with satisfaction. His younger brother had indeed remembered his instructions, run away from enemies he couldn't defeat. Although it wasn't a good look, compared to his own life, face was nothing. Joshua suddenly exclaimed in surprise, realizing things weren't so simple. Ashina wasn't simply running away, 2 shadow clones were following him, their 4 hands rapidly rubbing together in his palms, subtly brewing a powerful aura. This kid's trying to stall for time to create the great Rinnegan before facing Kaguya Koto? Joshua saw through Ashina's intentions and didn't know what to say. He had also written the Great Rinnegan on his Rinnegan scroll, but the Great Rinnegan was extremely difficult to master, on a completely different level from the Rinnegan, requiring a very high level of chakra control. Ashina hadn't learned the Great Rinnegan at all. He practiced diligently in his spare time and secretly came to Joshua for guidance. Joshua, concealing his strength, could teach him directly, only saying that the Great Rinnegan was a ninjutsu model he had deduced, and that even he himself didn't know it. Can a ninjutsu you can't master in normal time succeed in a battlefield environment? Joshua worried about his brother and began to think about how to attack without any flaws. Where do you think you're going to escape to? Kaguya Koto sneered and flashed after Ashina. Ashina had his shadow clones obstruct his opponent at all costs, preparing the Great Rinnegan to buy him time, the chakra ball in his hand growing larger and larger. I must succeed, he prayed anxiously. This was his only chance to defeat his opponent. Failure meant certain death. At this moment, the second elder and the third elder were both restrained by the elders of the Kaguya clan, and only he himself could save him. Get out of the way, Kaguya Koto was extremely annoyed by the shadow clones. Bones protruded all over her body, greatly increasing her efficiency in destroying the shadow clones, and the distance between her and Ashina rapidly shortened. PFFT, another shadow clone exploded, and Kaguya Koto was now within 10 meters of Ashina. She concentrated a large amount of chakra in the soles of her feet, used the body flicker technique to flash in front of Ashina in one breath, and swung her finger bones straight at his forehead. Ashina gritted his teeth. His Great Rinnegan was already as big as his head, and there were still a few steps to complete, but now it was a critical moment and there was no time. He could only grit his teeth and send out the half-finished Great Rasengan. Success or failure depends on this. Just as they were about to collide, the Great Rasengan suddenly collapsed and disintegrated like a candle in the wind. What? Ashina was horrified, his heart plummeting to rock bottom. He hadn't expected his Great Rasengan to fail after all. At that moment, he thought of his second brother, his eldest sister, and his father. These three were the most important people in his life. My second brother may not be strong, but the ninjutsu he developed is definitely not the problem. Not being able to use the Great Rasengan is all my fault for being stupid and clumsy. Second brother, I'm so stupid. P.S. Signed a contract, please support with some donations and monthly tickets. Chapter 34 My shadow clone can't be this strong. Seeing the chakra ball in Ashina's palm collapse, Kaguya Koto realized his ninjutsu had malfunctioned, and a smile immediately appeared on her lips. A good opportunity. She wasn't about showing mercy to her enemy. Striking while the iron was hot was the only way to win. She aimed a finger bone to pierce Ashina's forehead. At the critical moment, a sudden change occurred. A shadow clone of Ashina burst from the ground, kicking Kaguya Koto hard in the chin. Crack, the sound of bone breaking echoed. Kaguya Koto was sent flying. Lion's Barrage, the Ashina shadow clone roared, pressing its advantage, kicking Kaguya Koto in the stomach, sending her flying even higher. Damn it! I was fooled. Kaguya Koto was furious. She thought she had found Ashina's true form, but it turned out to be just a well-hidden shadow clone. The real Ashina was hiding underground, waiting for his chance. Unbeknownst to her, Ashina was completely bewildered. Looking at the shadow clone before him, so incredibly powerful and identical to himself, he couldn't help but scratch the back of his head. Is this my shadow clone? Something feels off. Poison Dragon Drill, Kaguya Koto roared, completely enraged after being struck twice. Her finger bones fused together again into the shape of a drill, ready to fight to the death. She looked down. Ashina's original body was gone, only the shadow clone impersonating him remained, standing there dumbfounded. Above you, a voice whispered in her ear. Kaguya Koto abruptly turned her head and, sure enough, saw Ashina's original body appear above her. His left and right hands moved rapidly, quickly creating a chakra ball the size of a wash basin. Great Rasengan, Ashina's original body, wielding the large ball, hurled it at Kaguya Koto without hesitation. Holy crap, Ashina was stunned, his eyes wide with disbelief. An ninjutsu that even his original body couldn't use, and you, a shadow clone, used it on me. For a moment, he even began to doubt whether he was actually a shadow clone, not his original self. Die, Kaguya Koto unleashed a powerful strike, swinging the bone drill to stab the Great Rasengan. Bang, a deafening roar erupted, followed by a blast of air. The bone drill covering Kaguya's arm shattered, and she plummeted to the ground like a bloodied sack, creating a massive crater and billowing dust. The shadow clone landed safely, staring blankly at Ashina. Cough cough. Ashina was about to speak when he was interrupted by a cough of blood. Kaguya staggered out of the dust, her appearance utterly wretched. Not only was her right arm broken, but her internal organs were also shattered. Blood, mixed with fragments of her organs, gushed uncontrollably from her throat. Uzumaki Ashina, you hid it so well, Kaguya said bitterly to the stunned Ashina. I fought you for so long, and I never imagined you were just a shadow clone. Ashina, he wanted to retort, I'm the real body. Not a shadow clone. Then, Kaguya Koto looked at the calm Ashina main body and coughed up blood, saying, you're 4 years younger than me, yet you're so much stronger. You completely outmaneuvered me with just your shadow clone technique. Kaguya Koto was extremely unwilling. From childhood, she had always believed herself to be a genius, and the reason she was weaker than her brother was simply because she was younger. However, being defeated today by a Uzumaki genius 4 years younger than her made her begin to doubt herself. Suddenly, she thought of something and stared intently at the Ashina main body. Uzumaki Ashina, tell me the truth, did you develop those ninjutsu you picked up before? Ashina was startled. He couldn't tell anyone that his second brother could develop ninjutsu, otherwise, his second brother would be in danger. He quickly said, don't talk nonsense, those ninjutsu were, shut up. I don't want to talk to you, you shadow clone, Kaguya Koto retorted fiercely. Ashina, he was speechless for a moment. Not only would Kaguya Koto misunderstand, but even he himself found it unbelievable. A shadow clone using a ninjutsu the real body couldn't do, who would believe it? Even now, are you still going to humiliate me with a shadow clone? The real body didn't say a word to me. Kaguya Koto gritted her teeth. The real Ashina finally made a move. He gave Kaguya Koto a mysterious smile, and then, poof! He exploded into a cloud of mist. Kaguya Koto was stunned. She was completely dumbfounded, as if struck by lightning. This is also a shadow clone. Kaguya Koto was utterly bewildered, feeling like she was living in a dream. She turned and looked around at the few scattered shadow clones, her face filled with inexplicable confusion. Her vision blurred, she felt that each one was a shadow clone, yet each one was Ashina's real body. How? Suddenly, she gave a miserable laugh. I was defeated by a shadow clone. I'm not even as good as a shadow clone as Uzumaki Ashina. You're so cruel, killing me with your spirit. With that, she coughed up a mouthful of blood mixed with fragments of her internal organs, collapsing dead. Ashina was just as bewildered as she was. Logically, after a shadow clone disappears, its memories should return to his original body, but he hadn't received any. What was going on? He scratched the back of his head, unable to figure it out, and could only attribute it to a glitch in his ninjutsu. Never mind, even if the Sage of Six Paths comes, I'll still be my original body. Anyone who says I'm a shadow clone will be killed. Ashina shook his head, stopping his wild thoughts, and threw a kunai at Kaguya Koto from afar to finish her off. Although there are few flaws and it's not perfect, Ashina's brain definitely won't connect it to me. Underground, Jojuan breathed a sigh of relief upon seeing Kaguya Koto's death. In that life or death situation, he couldn't think of a better solution, so he used his transformation technique to disguise himself as Ashina's shadow clone. Ashina must have sensed something was wrong, but he wasn't one for deep thought. Given his personality, ignoring insurmountable problems was the best solution. He was used to manipulating and fooling his brother, and knew him better than anyone. Kaguya Koto is dead. You Kaguya clan members, surrender now. Ashina returned to the battlefield, carrying Kaguya Koto's head, and shouted. He wasn't stupid, he understood that the news of the clan leader's son's death would be a blow to the morale of the Kaguya clan, hence his action. What? Miss Koto is dead. The two elders of the Kaguya clan were shocked and looked in the direction of the voice. Sure enough, they saw Kaguya Koto's head being held in someone's hand. How is this possible? The Kaguya elders were incredulous. They knew how strong Kaguya Koto was. Even her brother, Kaguya Musashi, at her age, might not have been stronger than her. And yet, she had died at the hands of the 13-year-old Uzumaki Ashina. Miskin, the Kaguya clan members cried out in grief, unable to accept the scene before them. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 35 The familiar feeling of taking the blame. Well done, Ashina. In stark contrast to Elder Kaguya's reaction, the second and third elders of the Uzumaki clan were overjoyed. The news of Kaguya Koto's death was undoubtedly fantastic news for them. It seems our Uzumaki clan's genius is truly formidable. Young Master Ashina is mighty. The Uzumaki clan members raised their arms in unison. Even your clan leader's daughter has been killed. What do you have to fight us with? Kill. Annihilate the entire Kaguya clan. The Uzumaki clan's morale soared, and they launched a massive offensive, as if they had taken a powerful drug. In contrast, the Kaguya clan was demoralized, their minds unsettled by Kaguya Koto's death, especially the two elders. Kaguya Koto had fallen in their ranks, and as elders, they were undeniably responsible and would inevitably be held accountable by Kaguya. Retreat. The second elder of Kaguya made a decisive decision, quickly issuing the retreat order. The Kaguya clan members, already demoralized, turned and fled without a word, showing no intention of fighting. Where do you think you're going? Chase them. Beat them while they're down. The Uzumaki clan members howled as they pursued, wishing they could wipe out the entire Kaguya clan. After leaving behind the corpses of more than a dozen Kaguya clan members as a price for their retreat, the second elder of the Uzumaki clan, seeing that they had gained enough, stopped the clan members. Stop chasing them. They might have an ambush behind them. Let's go back to the iron mine first. The group paused, still savoring the exhilarating battle, feeling utterly refreshed and invigorated. The second elder then led his people back to the battlefield to tally the casualties. It was a well-deserved victory. The Kaguya clan had left 18 corpses, while the Uzumaki clan had only 4 dead and 9 wounded. The second elder ordered the Kaguya corpses to be collected and incinerated with a single fire technique, as leaving them unattended could easily lead to disease and plague. The Uzumaki clan's corpses were carefully preserved, to be transported back to the clan for a proper burial after the war. Of course, if the battle dragged on too long, they would cremate the bodies before they decomposed. Greetings, second elder, third elder. The Uzumaki clan member guarding the iron mine released the 4 purple flame formation and rushed to meet the group. They had witnessed the entire defeat of the Kaguya clan within the barrier, and were now both excited and overjoyed. The Kaguya clan was courting death, daring to provoke and attack us. Kaguya is nothing special. She used to be bullied by them, but now she's no match for us at all. It's mainly because young Master Ashina is incredibly brave and invincible. Killing Kaguya Koto secured the victory in one fell swoop. Everyone flattered him, attributing the main credit for this battle to Ashina. Ashina felt quite embarrassed. Kaguya Koto died inexplicably at the hands of his shadow clone, and he still didn't understand what happened. He felt a little uneasy. Ashina, that Kaguya Koto was the second most famous genius in the Kaguya clan after Kaguya Musaku. At only 17 years old, she was about to enter the ranks of elite Jonin. It's truly amazing that you were able to kill her head-on. The Dragon Clan chief would be very happy if he knew. The second elder also praised Ashina, becoming more and more satisfied with him. He sighed that the Uzumaki dragon had truly raised a fine pair of children. It was just a pity that the Uzumaki dragon's second son was really useless. Otherwise, all 3 children would be outstanding individuals, which would be so prestigious. Let's not talk about that now, second elder. Let's go and support the other teams, Ashina said. He didn't know how to tell others about the shadow clone incident. Good, the second elder nodded with satisfaction. He thought Ashina was exceptionally calm and composed, showing the demeanor of a clan leader at such a young age. Mito was, after all, a woman. If possible, it would be better for Ashina to become the clan leader in the future. He then asked the clansmen guarding the iron mine, "Where are the 4th and 5th elders?" The clansmen replied, "The 2 elders went to support the troops in the northeast." The second elder pondered for a moment. "Mito's troops are in the northeast, so we will go to support the 6th and 7th elders." He trusted Mito completely. Mito's strength even surpassed that of many elders. Therefore, he decided to support other teams, helping the weaker ones rather than the stronger ones. The iron mine covered a vast area. Kaguya's well had split its forces into 5 groups attacking from different directions to weaken the mine's defenses through a pincer movement. It was already quite remarkable that the 4th and 5th elders had managed to hold out this long using the 4 purple flame formation. The 6th and 7th elders teams were in the southwest. When the 2nd elders group arrived, the 6th elder and his men were engaged in a fierce battle with the Kaguya clan. The Kaguya clan members were incredibly powerful, each taking on an average of over 100 shadow clones, locking onto their main bodies using chakra sensing, and constantly creating sonic booms. The Kaguya clan in the northwest has been defeated. 6th elder, we're here to help you, the 2nd elder shouted, his words shaking the morale of the Kaguya clan. Has the northwest team truly been defeated? Elder Kaguya was panicked and uncertain. She fought on for a while, but then realized that while she didn't know if the northwest side had been defeated, the pressure on her side had definitely increased. She was being besieged by 2 elders of the Uzumaki clan. At first, she could hold on, but she knew she wouldn't be able to withstand it for long, and many of her clansmen were also suffering casualties. Retreat. In the end, Elder Kaguya gritted his teeth and withdrew his troops. The defeat was already obvious, and all he could do was cut his losses. The 2 Whirlpool teams joined forces, their confidence greatly increased, and they were no longer afraid of ambushes. They pursued the fleeing enemy for over 10 miles, mercilessly beating them until the sun set, leaving behind more than 30 corpses of the Kaguya clan. Only then did they return to the iron mine. If the pursuit hadn't been so deep, and if it hadn't been so dark, the 2nd elder might have even wanted to annihilate the entire team. Mito and Uzumaki Ryu, after fighting for half a day, also drove back the enemy by evening. That night, all 5 teams gathered at the iron mine to discuss their next strategy. Ashina, did you really kill Kaguya Koto? Uzumaki Ryu was quite surprised upon hearing Ashina's battle report. I suppose so, Ashina scratched the back of his head and mumbled, inexplicably feeling like he was being blamed for a shadow clone. And this feeling was strangely familiar, a strong sense of déjà vu. Uzumaki Ryu was speechless. The elders vied to praise Ashina, believing he was no ordinary genius, and that in 2 years he might be ranked alongside Mito, Hoshirama, and the other 8 great warriors of the Sengoku period. Mito hesitated, wanting to speak but holding back. It was good that her younger brother had achieved military merit, but Kaguya Koto wasn't someone who could be killed so easily. Killing her alone was like stirring up a hornet's nest for Kaguya. Would Kaguya and Kaguya Musou let her brother go? To avenge Ashina, they would likely stop at nothing. Tomorrow on the battlefield, stay close to Mito and don't act rashly, Uzumaki Ryu instructed Ashina, clearly sharing Miro's concerns. He was helpless, his second son was hated by Kaguya Musou, which prevented him from going to the battlefield, and now his youngest son had incurred even greater hatred. He couldn't very well prevent his youngest son from going either. Chapter 36 Kaguya's Defeat. Uzumaki Ashina, I will tear you to pieces. In the Kaguya clan's temporary camp, Kaguya, upon learning of her daughter's death, was enraged, her full head of silver hair almost standing on end. The second and third elders of the Kaguya clan, leading Kaguya Koto's group, trembled with fear, not daring to utter a word. I've long felt this child was extraordinary. I thought he was too young to be a threat, but I didn't expect him to grow so quickly. Given time, he will surely become the next Uzumaki Mito, said the first elder of the Kaguya clan. A genius who doesn't grow up is nothing. We must nip Uzumaki Ashina in the bud as soon as possible. We cannot allow him to grow any further. This is also to avenge Miss Koto, the elders all suggested. Kaguya slammed her fist on the table, her eyes blazing with fury. Well said. Uzumaki Dragon, my daughter's death will not have been in vain. I will kill one of your sons to avenge this deep-seated hatred. Pass down the order. Whoever obtains Uzumaki Ashina's head will be rewarded with 30 million taels of silver and directly promoted to clan elder. The iron mine can be left unconquered, but I want Uzumaki Ashina dead. Yes, deep underground. Jojuan concealed his aura with a sealing technique, completely eavesdropping on Kaguya and the others' conversation. In short, the Kaguya clan conveyed only one message tonight: the team battle could be lost, but Ashina must die. Jojuan wasn't surprised by this outcome. Given Kaguya's personality, he wouldn't be one to let the death of his daughter go unpunished. This might not be a bad thing for Ashina, Jojuan mused. Ashina was already considered the next clan leader by the elders. Knowing he had become a thorn in the side of the Kaguya clan, Uzumaki Dragon and the elders would certainly do everything in their power to protect him. According to Jojuan's estimation, once the Iron Mine battle ended, Ashina would be imprisoned in Uzashio village by his clan and carefully trained until he reached the level of an elite Jonin before being released. By then, the Uzumaki clan would have roughly the strength to establish a nation, and the gap between them and the Kaguya clan would only widen. Before dawn the next day, the Kaguya clan eagerly launched an attack on the Iron Mine. This was a decisive battle, with almost all the main forces of both clans gathered there. Although their numbers were small, all the participants were ninjas, making for a fierce and spectacular fight. The Kaguya's high command considered it their mission to kill Ashina, but unfortunately, Ashina was well protected by his clan. They couldn't even see him, let alone kill him. The decisive battle lasted from morning till night, with both sides suffering heavy casualties. Due to the Uzumaki clan's advantageous terrain, their casualty ratio was relatively better. The Kaguya clan did not withdraw. They continued the siege of the Iron Mine the next day, and the Uzumaki clan continued to fiercely resist. The war lasted 5 days. The dense forest surrounding the Iron Mine was leveled by the aftershocks of the battle, and the center of the battlefield was riddled with holes, as if it had been washed with explosive tags. Unable to break through the defenses, the Kaguya clan's morale wavered, and coupled with insufficient supplies, they finally retreated on the 6th day. Upon their retreat, the Whirlpool Dragon decisively launched a pursuit. He chose his timing perfectly. The Kaguya clan's morale was already low, and they were suddenly met with a full-scale enemy attack. They were routed in less than half a day. Kaguya was powerless to reverse the situation and could only lead his people in a desperate retreat, suffering more casualties in just 1 day than in the 5 days of the decisive battle. Clan chief, let me cover the retreat, the second elder of Kaguya pleaded in desperation. Kaguya gave him a deep look and nodded, saying, I will take good care of your descendants. The second elder gritted his teeth, his meaning unspoken. He had no choice. Kaguya Koto had died under his leadership, and Kaguya would never let him go. He had been busy with the war, and once he returned to the clan's territory, Kaguya would definitely seek revenge, possibly even implicating his family. Rather than that, it was better to sacrifice himself to protect his descendants, and at least die a glorious death. The second elder of Kaguya turned and charged towards the pursuing Uzumaki army, his entire body radiating a fierce and indomitable aura. Corpse bone pulse, early fern dance, the second elder of Kaguya roared, unleashing his full chakra. Countless sharp bone spikes tore through the earth, growing wildly and densely. A series of screams rang out. Centered on the second elder of Kaguya, the entire area within 100 meters was covered by a forest of white bones. More than 10 Uzumaki clansmen were pierced by bone spikes. Some died instantly from fatal wounds, while others were left bleeding profusely on the bone spikes, screaming shrilly. Retreat, Uzumaki Ryu shouted with a solemn expression, but bone spikes continued to grow wildly from the ground. The dance of the early ferns is the Kaguya clan's ultimate forbidden technique, a wide-range, indiscriminate attack that drains the caster's life force. Even after so many years of fighting the Kaguya clan, Uzumaki Ryu has only seen this ninjutsu a handful of times. Uzumaki Ryu, your Uzumaki clan will one day be wiped out by us. Ha ha ha! The second elder of the Kaguya clan stood atop the thickest bone spike, laughing maniacally. The dance of the early ferns had exhausted his life force, his body turned to bone dust and scattered in the wind, no more bone spikes sprouting from the ground. Uzumaki Ryu was not enraged by his words. He calmly ordered the rescue of his clansmen pierced by the bone spikes. The second elder's delay meant they could no longer pursue the Kaguya clan. Good heavens, the Kaguya clan's forbidden techniques are truly monstrous, utterly unreasonable, directly trading lives for lives. Jojuan, hiding in the distance, observed the forest of bones created at the cost of lives through his demon eye, still shaken. He had originally intended to use Black Zetsu's disguise to intercept the Kaguya clan, hoping to inflict greater casualties. It seemed fortunate he hadn't done so, otherwise, a direct hit from the early fern dance would have left him severely wounded, even if he didn't die, and he wouldn't have had time to escape using the 5 elements escape technique. The early fern dance used by the second elder of Kaguya had a wider range and greater destructive power than Kimimera's in the original story. They would have to be wary of the Kaguya clan using this move in the future. After rescuing several barely alive clansmen, Mito immediately used medical ninjutsu to heal their injuries and bandage their wounds. Clan chief, since we've already chased them this far, why don't we press our advantage and launch a full-scale attack on Kaguya territory? The fourth elder suddenly suggested. Uzumaki Ryu shook his head. No, times have changed. We don't need to fight the Kaguya clan to the death. He was also terrified of the early fern dance. If they launched a full-scale attack on Kaguya territory, the Kaguya clan would definitely fight to the death, and it was hard to guarantee that both sides wouldn't end up in a scorched earth situation. Before the establishment of Whirlpool Village, he would have been willing to risk mutual destruction to completely crush the Kaguya clan. But now, the Whirlpool clan was large and prosperous, with no worries about livelihood, and had no reason to fight to the death. Following the current trend, in just a few years, the Kaguya clan wouldn't even be worthy of being a match for the Whirlpools. Whirlpool Dragon was confident of this. Return to the iron mine first, we'll discuss the future later, Whirlpool Dragon ordered, and the group carried the wounded back the way they came. P.S. Begging for recommendation votes this week. Chapter 37 Hashirama and Madara. Upon returning to the iron mine, the first thing Uzumaki Ryu did was convene a high-level meeting. After this battle, the Kaguya clan has been severely punished. They shouldn't dare to cause trouble again for a long time, Uzumaki Ryu said. Our casualties were also considerable, the second elder said, distressed. To be honest, fighting the Kaguya clan to the death was not worthwhile for us. Our goal is no longer war, but to recuperate and strengthen Uzumaki Village, the other elders echoed. As long as Uzumaki Village develops, we will not fear any ninja clan we fight against in the future. We must expedite our plan to train a ninja army. This time back in the village, we must select promising talents from among the commoners. The battlefield situation changes rapidly, and time waits for no one. Uzumaki Ryu nodded. That's exactly what I'm thinking. Therefore, to prevent any unforeseen circumstances, We will concentrate our manpower to mine all the iron ore resources before returning to the village, and then focus on recuperation and development." "Agreed," the elders all agreed. Mito said, "Concentrating manpower to mine the iron ore is no problem, but the wounded must be sent back to the village hospital for treatment first. Many of their injuries cannot withstand any delay. You and Ashina will lead a group of clansmen to escort the wounded back to the village." Uzumaki Ryu entrusted this task to his children. Ashina readily agreed, no problem. He didn't want to stay in the iron mine as a laborer. Escorting the wounded back to the village was more challenging and would better demonstrate his value. The Uzumaki clan had quite a few wounded. After several days of fighting, a total of 83 clansmen were seriously injured and needed to be sent back to the village as soon as possible. Mito and Ashina set off at noon that day, with Uzumaki Ryu allocating 100 clansmen to them as their escorts. Jojuan, seeing that the battle had completely subsided and there was nothing left for him to worry about, initially planned to return to the laboratory to continue fusing the eyes, but then he thought, why not go all the way and see it through to the end? 83 seriously injured people, if they were ambushed or encountered mishaps on the road, it would be a huge blow to the Uzumaki clan. Since his experiment had already been going on for so long, a day or two wouldn't make a difference. Therefore, Jojuan followed Mito's group, traveling with them and continuing to act as their bodyguard in the shadows. The iron mine wasn't far from Uzashio village. Ashina could make the round trip in half a day, but with half the group seriously injured, their pace had to be slow, making their journey extremely difficult. 2 full days passed, and Mito and his group had only covered half the distance. They had endured wind and rain, and many of the wounded had suffered worsening injuries. Fortunately, Mito's medical ninjutsu was superb, managing to pull them back from the brink of death. Jojuan stealthily led the way, activating his Kagura mind's eye to guide the others and prevent any potential accidents. The land of fire was in complete chaos. In the past 2 days, Mito and his group had passed at least 7 or 8 ninja battlefields, each one fiercely contested. The Shimura clan was the most despicable among them. Seeing a large number of wounded in Mito's group, the Shimura clan leader harbored wicked intentions, secretly following them for a long time. Finally, Mito couldn't resist and attacked him, exchanging a few blows before scaring him away. This Shimura Yoriku, the Shimura clan leader, looks shifty. He's probably Danzo's father, or maybe his grandfather, Jojuan cursed inwardly. The Shimura clan was considered a major ninja clan, infamous in the land of fire for their opportunistic nature. They would often ally with whichever ninja clan was strong and bully the weak. Jojuan had no good feelings towards them. This time, they actually had wicked intentions towards the Uzumaki clan. If it weren't for Shimura Yoriku's skills, Jojuan would have used an alias to target them. Wait a minute, I think I've been getting a little cocky lately, Jojuan suddenly realized, noticing a problem with himself. Perhaps due to his years of working behind the scenes on the battlefield, Jojuan's mentality gradually changed. He would use an alias to sabotage anyone he disliked. This was true of his actions against Hyuga Rika, the Kaguya clan, and now against the Shimura clan. Jojuan realized this mentality was extremely dangerous. His reason for discreetly fusing his eyes in the village was solely to avoid trouble and prolong his life. He absolutely refused to engage in violence unless absolutely necessary, otherwise, he would inevitably repeat the same mistake. Unless I fuse the Rinnegan and Tenseigan, then I'll have the capital to be arrogant. Until then, I can't provoke trouble, Jojuan thought to himself, silently reciting the survival mantra 300 times to adjust his mindset and solidify his core principles for surviving in this chaotic world. Before he finished reciting the survival mantra 300 times, his Kagura mind eye suddenly sensed a familiar chakra fluctuation. This fluctuation, Jojuan was slightly taken aback. It's my brother-in-law, oops. It's Hashirama. Jojuan hadn't expected to encounter Hashirama in the wild. It was quite unexpected. He hadn't seen Hashirama since their parting at the palace 2 months ago. Hashirama kept saying he wanted to visit Uzashio village, but he never did. Besides Hashirama, there's another familiar aura. It's Uchiha Madara. Jojuan's expression immediately became interesting. Hashirama and Madara were sworn enemies and best friends. An encounter in the wild would inevitably lead to a battle. Maybe he could sneak in and get a few Sharingan eyes or collect some Hashirama cells. Hashirama and Madara's auras were several miles to the east, outside of Mito and the others' range. Jojuan hesitated for a moment, then decided to go and check it out. He used Earth Release to stealthily travel east, activating his right demon eye. Sure enough, he saw two groups of people, the Uchiha and Senju, on the distant plains. The two ninja clans were clearly separated, eyeing each other menacingly. Leading them were none other than Hashirama and Madara. Jojuan saw Hashirama's mouth opening and closing, but couldn't understand what he was saying. So he used the wind release, hearing technique to easily overhear Hashirama's voice. Madara, stop. We don't need to fight, Hashirama pleaded earnestly. This iron mine can be divided equally between our two clans, Madara sneered. Who wants to divide it equally with you? The ninja iron mine belongs only to our Uchiha clan. Your Senju clan can forget about getting a piece of it. Why bother? We clearly share the same ideals and ambitions. If we cooperate, we can eliminate the conflict between our two clans in the future. Shut up, Madara attacked directly, no longer wasting words with Hashirama. His hands quickly formed hand seals. Fire release, great fire annihilation. Madara gathered a large amount of chakra and spewed out a raging inferno. Hashirama had no choice but to defend. Shield technique, a wooden shield rose from the ground, intercepting the sea of fire. Hashirama was helpless, thinking of the days he and Madara used to skip stones on the river. Could those days really never be returned to? Madara, pressing his advantage, formed hand seals again and unleashed a powerful attack. Fire release, dust concealment technique, boom. Chapter 38 Ninja Iron Mine. Hashirama and Madara were both prodigies of their generation. The commotion of their battle was comparable to that of a clan leader, with earth-shattering power at every turn. Kill, fire release, great dragon fire technique. The clansmen on both sides also began to fight. The Uchiha clansmen were extremely skilled in fire release, while the Senju clansmen possessed superhuman strength, each punch capable of shattering boulders. They were both giving their all. Is it because of the ninja iron mine? Jojuan, who was secretly watching the battle, seemed to understand something. By overhearing Hashirama and Madara's conversation, he roughly understood the cause of the battle between the two clans. Ninja iron mine was different from ordinary iron ore. Ninja iron possessed extremely perfect chakra conductivity, so ninja tools made from ninja iron were much more powerful than ordinary weapons. It was a rare and invaluable war resource. In the Warring States period, everything was scarce. Uzumaki and Kaguya fought to the death over an ordinary iron mine, let alone ninja iron mine, which was dozens of times more precious than ordinary iron ore. No wonder Madara was determined not to give Hashirama any room for reconciliation. Let me see where the ninja iron ore is. Jojuan used his demon eye to scan and quickly found a large pile of iron ore in a valley near the battlefield. He quietly crept over. Ninja iron looked no different from ordinary ironware, at least not to Jojuan's eyesight. He picked up a piece of ninja iron about the thickness of his arm and tried to channel chakra through it. He felt an incredibly smooth sensation. The ninja iron was like an extension of his arm, conducting chakra extremely smoothly and comfortably, without any of the stiffness or discomfort of ordinary ironware. What a treasure! Jojuan's eyes lit up. He planned to use the ninja iron to forge a set of ninja tools for himself, which would definitely help improve his combat power. Just as he was thinking about how to get the Uzumaki clan involved so he could get a share, ninja art, multiple shadow clone technique, Ashina's voice suddenly exploded on the battlefield. Jojuan looked in the direction of the sound and saw Mito and Ashina leading a large group of clansmen into the battlefield, joining forces with the Senju clan to surround the Uchiha. Sister, you sensed Hashirama's chakra too. Jojuan wasn't surprised, understanding that the commotion from Hashirama and Madara's duel had likely attracted Miro's attention, and that Mito also possessed the Kagura mind's eye. Oh no, the Uzumaki clan is here? The Uchiha clan members were terrified. The multiple shadow clone technique was simply too frightening. At first glance, it looked like thousands of Uzumaki clan members were swarming in. The visual impact was incredibly exaggerated, and it scared them so much that they didn't dare to fight. Uzumaki Mito. Madara's expression changed drastically as he recognized an old acquaintance among the Uzumaki clan members. If it were just ordinary Uzumaki clan members coming to reinforce, he wouldn't be afraid, but Mito was on his level. If she joined forces with Hashirama, he would definitely not be able to win this battle. Hashirama, you're lucky this time, Madara said through gritted teeth, unwilling to accept defeat. But don't be so smug, I'll be back. With that, he flashed away, shouting, retreat. Everyone, don't let them escape. Chase them. The Senju clan relentlessly pursued, hoping to join forces with Uzumaki to annihilate them. Fire release, Great Fire Annihilation. Madara unleashed his ultimate technique, spewing a massive fireball at the Senju clan. Wood release, Advent of a World of Trees. Hashirama used wood release, causing countless trees to burst from the ground. The fireball collided with the trees and instantly spread out, creating a sea of fire that fiercely burned, hindering the Senju clan's pursuit. Master Hashirama, should we continue the chase? A clansman asked. Hashirama watched Madara's retreating figure, shook his head, and sighed. No need to chase after him. He then turned to Mito, who was walking towards him, his body instantly stiffening, his face flushing involuntarily. He stammered, "Thank you for your help, second sister." Mito smiled slightly, but before she could speak, Ashina beside her exclaimed in surprise, "Second sister? Your brother Hashirama?" Hashirama was taken aback. "Yes, that's me, that's wonderful," Ashina exclaimed excitedly. "I'm Uzumaki Ashina. I've long heard that you swore brotherhood with my eldest sister and second brother in the Fire Country's palace, and I've always wanted to meet you, so you're Ashina. I've heard so much about you." Hashirama quickly bowed respectfully. "Brother Hashirama, you're truly amazing. You conjured up a whole forest in an instant," Ashina said with a grin. He genuinely admired Hashirama, his wood release technique made him awestruck. "No wonder my eldest sister and second brother swore brotherhood with you. How about I swear brotherhood with you too?" Hashirama was a little uncomfortable with Ashina's enthusiasm. "Why yes, then let's swear brotherhood now." Ashina immediately pulled out a kunai, ready to slash himself. "Don't fool around on the battlefield." Mito grabbed her younger brother, stopping his childish behavior, and then said to Hashirama, "Uchiha Madara won't let this go. He'll probably go find other Uchiha clan members. You'd better go and join the clan members too. I've already sent someone to ask my brother and the elders for help. They should arrive around evening," Hashirama said. Mito understood from his words that the Senju were going to have a final battle with the Uchiha, and nodded. "That's good, second sister, you should stay and help us too." Every time he called her second sister, Hashirama felt his heart pounding so hard he almost suffocated. Mito shook her head. "We need to escort a wounded back to the village. We can't waste time. However, if you need reinforcements, I can ask my father and the others for help, then I'll trouble my second sister to pass on the message." Hashirama didn't stand on ceremony, explaining, "Today, during our battle with the Uchiha, the aftershocks collapsed a valley, unexpectedly revealing a large amount of ninja iron ore buried beneath. Our battle then turned into a fight for ownership of the ninja iron ore. Madara is determined to obtain the ninja iron ore. Besides gathering the Uchiha clan, he will definitely also seek help from the Kaguya clan. Our Senju clan alone cannot handle both of them." Mito's expression immediately turned serious upon hearing this. She hadn't expected the battle to involve ninja iron ore. The importance of ninja iron was self-evident. It absolutely could not fall into the hands of Kaguya and the Uchiha. "Can you take me to see the ninja iron ore?" Mito asked. "Of course." Hashirama led Mito and the others to the valley. Before they even entered, Jojuan had already slipped away with several pieces of ninja iron. So much ninja iron. Looking at the mountain of ironware before her, Mito was deeply surprised. She casually picked up a piece of ninja iron to test its chakra conductivity. "If Kaguya and the Uchiha get their hands on this ninja iron, we're in big trouble." Even Ashina realized the gravity of the situation. Hashirama hesitated, then sighed with melancholy, seemingly lost in thought. If the Senju and Uchiha could coexist peacefully, what did it matter if he gave all the ninja iron ore to Madara? But he had to think of his clan, and could only stand against Madara. "Brother Hashirama, I'll go and ask my father and the others to send reinforcements," Mito said solemnly. "Ashina, you and the clansmen continue escorting the wounded back to the village." Chapter 39 Night Raid. Mito left without hesitation, and Ashina set off with her. The siblings split into two groups, one to fetch reinforcements, and the other to escort a wounded back to the village, both missions equally important. Ashina longed to become sworn brothers with Hashirama, but knew now wasn't the time. His only thought was to get the wounded back to the village as quickly as possible before returning to the battle. He could become sworn brothers with Hashirama after defeating the combined forces of the Uchiha and Kaguya. The war had supposed to stop, but a ninja iron mine has created a complication, and it looks like an even larger war is about to break out, Jojuan said, somewhat frustrated. He longed to return to the lab and focus on fusing his eyes, unwilling to be burdened by the war. But he had no choice. If he couldn't even care about his own clan's war, he wouldn't deserve to be a member of the Uzumaki clan. After much deliberation, Jojuan created 2 shadow clones. One clone secretly escorted Ashina back to the village, while the other followed Mito back to the iron mine, in case something went wrong along the way and she couldn't deliver the distress call to his father on time. Jojuan was always meticulous. It would be hard to find someone more meticulous in the land of fire. His main body remained at the iron mine. In case the Uchiha and Kaguya's main forces arrived early and Hashirama couldn't hold it, he could take as much iron as he could to minimize losses. Time passed, and before dusk, the first batch of reinforcements finally arrived. Tobirama led over 100 Senju clan members, rushing from the horizon. Tobirama, why are you alone? Where are father and the other elders? Hashirama asked. Father and the others were blocked by Uchiha Tajima. They probably won't be able to get here today. I was entangled with Uchiha Izuna, but he suddenly withdrew, so I came by myself, Tobirama said. Hashirama breathed a sigh of relief. If his father and the others couldn't come, the main force of the Uchiha wouldn't be able to either, so there was nothing to worry about. Big brother, take me to see the ninja iron mine first. I've never seen ninja iron mine before, Tobirama said expectantly. Hashirama naturally wouldn't refuse and led Tobirama to the valley. When they saw the mountains of ore resources piled up in the valley, Tobirama was like a country bumpkin entering the city, his eyes wide with amazement, exclaiming repeatedly. He picked up a piece of ninja iron and swung it around, immediately falling in love with the smooth feeling of the chakra. So much ninja iron, the Senju are rich, Tobirama was incredibly excited. It's not all ours, we have to share it with the Uzumaki clan, Hashirama explained. I've already asked Mito to ask the Dragon Clan chief for help. She's probably on her way now, Tobirama nodded, understanding that the Senju clan couldn't possibly defend the ninja iron mine on their own, and joining forces with the Uzumaki was the best option. Even if we split it with the Uzumaki clan, we'll still be rich. After marveling for a while, the 2 brothers left the valley to wait for Uzumaki reinforcements. But they waited and waited, until the full moon hung high in the night sky, and they still didn't see any Uzumaki clan members. Uzushio village isn't far from here. The Uzumaki clan shouldn't be taking this long to arrive, Tobirama said, puzzled. Hashirama also sensed something was wrong. His brow furrowed. Could they have encountered an accident on the way and been delayed? You're a jinx, I knew it, Jojuan, hidden underground, muttered under his breath. Uzumaki Ryu and his men had indeed encountered an accident. After Mito returned to the iron mine to explain the situation at the Ming Dynasty iron mine, Uzumaki Ryu stopped mining and immediately led the main force to support Hashirama. Unexpectedly, they encountered Kaguya Irie, who was also on her way to support the Uchiha clan. Both sides settled old and new grudges, and a fierce battle ensued. Like the Senju's main force, they probably wouldn't be able to arrive today. All this information was relayed to Jojuan by a shadow clone. Hashirama and Tobirama, unaware of the truth, were worried that the Kaguya clan would launch a night attack first. They dared not sleep and waited anxiously outside the valley. As the night deepened, the cries of owls echoed from the distant forests, sounding particularly mournful in the darkness. At Madara Uchiha's temporary camp in the wilderness, 10 Uchiha clansmen were on night watch. Suddenly, one of the Uchiha clansmen, with sharp eyes, spotted a dark figure flashing in the distance and immediately shouted sharply, "Halt! Who goes there?" "It is I," Kaguya Musashi replied coldly, stepping out of the darkness. He was expressionless, exuding a chilling aura of ruthlessness. The Uchiha clansman scanned him with his Sharingan, confirming he wasn't a villain using a transformation technique to impersonate someone, and lowered his guard, politely saying, "So it's the young clan leader, Kaguya Musashi." Kaguya Musashi's reputation was renowned, and given the alliance between the 2 clans, ordinary Uchiha clansmen held him in high esteem. "Where is Uchiha Madara? I need to see him," Kaguya Musen said. The Uchiha clan members on night watch dared not neglect reinforcements and immediately led him to Madara's tent. Madara hadn't slept. He was pondering tomorrow's tactics and was somewhat surprised to see Kaguya Musen arrive alone. "Why are you alone, Kaguya Musen? My father is being held up by the Uzumaki clan and is expected to arrive tomorrow, so I came ahead of time." Madara was disheartened. "What use is one person? I need your Kaguya's main force." Kaguya Musen was silent for a moment, then suddenly asked, "The information you conveyed is correct, isn't it? Uzumaki Ashina is currently with Senju Hashirama." "That's right. During the day, it was Mito who accompanied him to support Senju Hashirama. Madara didn't know that Ashina had already escorted the wounded away and mistakenly thought he was part of Senju's reinforcements. Alright, I plan to launch a night raid on the ninja iron mine. Do you want to cover for me? Kaguya Muzan continued to ask. Madara didn't answer, looking at him as if he were an idiot. The main force hasn't arrived yet. What's the point of a night raid? Uzumaki Ashina killed my sister. I must avenge him. Kaguya Musashi's calm tone concealed an undisguised killing intent. Madara was taken aback, inexplicably understanding him. If his brother Izuna had met with misfortune, he would have sought revenge without hesitation. Wait until tomorrow, Madara said. We're outnumbered. Whether our Uchiha main force arrives or your Kaguya main force arrives tomorrow, we can launch a general offensive. I can't wait until tomorrow. Kaguya Musashi gritted her teeth. Once the Uzumaki clan arrives, they will definitely protect Uzumaki Ashina very well. At that time, I will even have difficulty seeing him, let alone avenging him, so I will launch a night raid on Uzumaki Ashina tonight. Uchiha Madara, I'm begging you this once, please help me with a backup. Kaguya Musashi rarely bowed his head to others. Unfortunately, he asked the wrong person. The ninja iron mine is guarded by 2 teams. Our night raid would not only be futile, but would also cost me many of my clansmen. I will not agree to this, Madara refused calmly. Despite his sympathy for Kaguya, he remained rational. Chapter 40 Kaguya must die without fighting. A long silence filled the tent. Kaguya Musashi ultimately said nothing and turned to leave. Madara didn't try to stop him. Although the Uchiha and Kaguya were allies, he didn't have much of a personal relationship with Kaguya Musashi. Helping was a favor, not helping was his right. Even if Kaguya as well were here, he would still refuse. Madara knew what Kaguya Musashi was going to do next. He might encounter setbacks and suffer hardships, even humiliation, but it wouldn't be life-threatening. After all, Kaguya Musashi's strength was undeniable. Even the clan head couldn't stop him from leaving. Has he reached some kind of agreement with young Master Madara? Watching Kaguya Musashi's figure disappear into the night, the Uchiha clan members on night watch seemed thoughtful. Outside the valley, Hashirama and Tobirama personally took on the night watch, while a large group of Senju clan members rested in the rear camp. It's so late, neither reinforcements nor enemy forces should be coming, Tobirama said, stretching. Hashirama nodded in agreement, when suddenly a figure emerged from the dense forest. The man had long silver hair and a cold, handsome face. He strode in, bathed in moonlight, looking utterly lonely. Kaguya Musashi. Hashirama recognized him instantly, his expression turning wary. He assumed reinforcements from the Kaguya clan had arrived and were about to launch a night attack. Kaguya Musashi stopped, his gaze sweeping over the 2 men before finally settling on Hashirama. Senju Hashirama, name Uzumaki Ashina. Ashina? Hashirama hesitated, instinctively replying, Ashina. No, Uzumaki Ashina is resting at his camp with his clansmen. Senju Tobirama interrupted. What do you want with him? He then whispered to his not-so-bright older brother, he's here to probe our strength. Don't let him know the Uzumaki clan isn't here, or he'll immediately join forces with Madara to attack. Hashirama realized his mistake. He'd almost fallen into a trap. Uzumaki Ashina killed my sister. I have something to say to him, Kaguya Musashi said. Tobirama vaguely understood, this guy wasn't here to talk to Ashina, he was clearly here for revenge. We're enemies on the battlefield. It's normal for anyone to kill anyone else. If you have something to say, wait until we're actually on the battlefield, he said, dismissing him. Kaguya Musashi was furious. He had left his clan and come to the ninja mine ahead of time, hoping to kill Ashina before the final battle. But seeing Ashina was proving incredibly difficult. If Madara Uchiha had agreed to cover his retreat, he could have launched a night raid and killed Ashina in the chaos. But Madara had refused, and he didn't dare to storm the enemy camp alone. Uzumaki Ashina, are you really going to be a coward? Kaguya Musashi roared, gathering his chakra, his voice booming like thunder. The Senju clan members in the camp were immediately awakened and went into battle alert. I'm telling you, you can't escape, Kaguya Musashi continued to roar, venting all the anger and hatred he had accumulated over the past few days. Others can protect you for a while, but not forever. Even if you hide at the ends of the earth, I will still kill you. From a ditch, Jojuan poked his head out, coldly staring at Kaguya Wazun, who was spouting nonsense in the distance, his heart filled with murderous intent. Kaguya Wazun was simply his nemesis. First, it was Hyuga Rika who targeted him. And now she was targeting his younger brother Ashina. This person was extremely dangerous. "What are you yelling about?" Tobirama scolded. Kaguya ignored him and continued his monologue. "Uzumaki Ashina, I know what you're thinking. You want to hide in Uzashio village after this battle, until the day you grow into an elite Chunin. But let me tell you, you won't have any peace. I'm determined to kill you, and even Uzumaki Ryan can't stop me. After you go back, I will send a large number of assassins into Uzashio village, and I will even infiltrate myself in disguise. As long as I live, you will never have peace of mind. The same goes for your brother, Uzumaki Jojuan." Jojuan's eyebrows twitched involuntarily. He recalled the guard who had attacked him a few days ago, and believed that Kaguya Muzan was capable of doing what he had just said. If he were the only one being targeted, it wouldn't be a big deal, but Kaguya Muzan was targeting Ashina, which made Jojuan take it very seriously. In no time, Jojuan had made his decision. Kaguya Muzan had to die. No matter the reason, he had to die. Never underestimate the protectiveness of a brother-obsessed brother. In all his years of surviving in the Warring States period, this was the first time Jojuan had felt such a strong killing intent towards someone. "Big brother, take him down," Tobirama couldn't help but shout, his hands quickly forming hand seals. Water release, water severing wave technique. A stream of water shot out from his mouth, and Kaguya Muzan dodged it. The water was incredibly sharp, cutting deep furrows in the ground. Wood release, all cloth bag technique. Hoshirama also used an ninjutsu, but he didn't need to form hand seals. He simply slammed his hands into the ground, and whatever he shouted came to pass. Countless giant wooden hands burst from the ground, overwhelming Kaguya Musashi. With nowhere to dodge, Kaguya Musashi pulled out her spine and shredded the wooden hands to dust, then turned and fled without hesitation. Having said what needed to be said, staying any longer would be pointless. Kaguya Musashi had achieved her goal, confident that she had deeply planted fear in Uzumaki Ashina's heart, ensuring he would live in constant fear from now on. "Tobirama, should we pursue her?" Hoshirama hesitated. He was quite hypocritical. He hadn't pursued Madara Uchiha after his defeat during the day, but now he didn't want to let Kaguya Musashi escape. If Mito were here, she would probably fight Kaguya Musashi to the death. Tobirama shook his head. "Let's not chase him. He might be lying in ambush to lure us. Kaguya Musashi is a madman. Uzumaki Ashina is in deep trouble because of his grudge. Next time you see Mito, remind her." Although Tobirama had never met Ashina, he was worried for him, feeling that he and his second brother, Uzumaki's Hakusan, were truly unfortunate brothers, both entangled with Kaguya Musashi. Kaguya Musashi's physical skills were superb. He disappeared from sight in a few leaps, and even if Hashirama wanted to pursue him, he couldn't catch up. Hakusan, however, used Kagura's mind's eye to firmly lock onto his aura, burrowing underground to follow him. His decision was no joke. Tonight, he was determined to defeat Kaguya Musashi. Not even the Sage of Six Paths could stop him. He said it. After running at full speed for several miles, making sure he was far enough away from Hashirama's camp, Kaguya Musashi gradually slowed down. Although he hadn't managed to kill Uzumaki Ashina, the thought that Ashina would be terrified because of him made Kaguya Musashi feel extremely satisfied. Sometimes, killing isn't the best way to get revenge. It would be quite good to keep the enemy living in nightmares and tormented by fear for a long time. Afterwards, Kaguya Musashi planned to reunite with her clansmen. Having just been rebuffed by Uchiha Madara, she certainly wouldn't turn back to him. Chapter 41 The Swamp Massacre Technique. Who? Kaguya Musashi sensed the disturbance and abruptly turned her head. A young boy with bright red hair stood a dozen meters away, giving her a disdainful glance before turning and running away. Uzumaki Ashina. Kaguya Musashi was astonished. He had only seen Ashina's portrait and had memorized his features. He immediately recognized the boy as the Ashina he had longed for. "Stop!" Kaguya Musashi reacted and gave chase. He wasn't stupid. He knew Ashina's sudden appearance was suspicious, and he wasn't even sure if the boy was truly Ashina. But he couldn't worry about that now. He'd catch him first. He wasn't afraid of being ambushed. He was alone. If he was truly in danger and focused on escaping, even the Uzumaki dragon wouldn't be able to stop him. All his confidence stemmed from his own strength. "Fool, so easily hooked," Jojuan muttered disdainfully, gradually increasing his running speed. always maintaining a distance that was neither too close nor too far from Kaguya Wazen. It wasn't arrogance on his part, he had created his own 5-element escape technique, and in terms of speed, Kaguya Wazen was far inferior to him. In fact, it would be difficult to find anyone faster than him in the entire Land of Fire. Despite his disdain for speed, Zhou still took Kaguya Wazen's strength very seriously and dared not underestimate him. After all, he was one of the 7 heroes of the Warring States period, on par with Hashirama, Madara, and Mito. If he hadn't fused with a demon eye, Zhou might not have dared to fight him to the death. In fact, even with a demon eye fused, it wasn't 100% safe. The safest approach would have been to wait until the Rinnegan and Tenseigan were fused before dealing with him, but Zhou couldn't wait that long. Kaguya Wazen had crossed his line. If Kaguya Wazen only harbored resentment towards him, even if Zhou sent assassins to kill him, he wouldn't bother with it. But he shouldn't have, absolutely shouldn't have, targeted Ashina. Stop right there. Kaguya Wazen grew increasingly enraged as he chased, his 10 finger bones shooting out, all of which Zhou dodged. He continued to lead Zhou on, like walking a dog. Kaguya Wazen was now certain that the other person wasn't Ashina, but someone using a transformation technique to impersonate him. The real Ashina couldn't possibly be this fast, he was only 13 years old, and with his own speed, there was no way he couldn't catch him. He also realized that the Ashina imposter was deliberately leading him somewhere, perhaps an ambush, or something else entirely. If Kaguya Wazen had initially chased the other person out of hatred, now his hatred had transformed into curiosity. He desperately wanted to know who this person was and what their intentions were in approaching him in this way. In the blink of an eye, Zhou had been walking a dog for a full hour, the two of them running over 100 miles, one after the other. Kaguya Wazen was exhausted and fed up with a prolonged chase. He was annoyed by being led by the nose and couldn't continue like this. Thinking this, he hesitated, stopped, and decided to give up. Zhou sensed this and also stopped, turning to look at him with a half-smile. Giving up already? You're not good enough. Kaguya Wazen released his chakra to sense his surroundings, finding no signs of an ambush. He breathed a slight sigh of relief and coldly retorted, "Who exactly are you?" "Someone you would never guess," Zhou deliberately added to his mystique. Kaguya Wazen fell for his trick. His brows furrowed as he quickly searched his mind, trying to figure out who he would never expect. He ruled out older generation powerhouses first, as they wouldn't impersonate others, it would be shameful, and their manner of speaking wouldn't be as unreliable as Zhou's. Since he wasn't from the older generation, he could only be from the same generation. There were only a handful of geniuses in the Land of Fire who were on par with him, Sarutobi Sasuke, Hyuga Tenin, and Kurama Yachi. While Kaguya Wazen was pondering, Zhou slowly walked towards him, a mysterious smile on his face. "Don't even think about it. You'll never figure it out, no matter how hard you try. I'll lure you here and finish you off. Nobody will know. It'll be a stealthy operation." As he spoke, he was already within 10 meters of Kaguya Wazen. Kaguya Wazen's expression suddenly turned murderous. He immediately used the body flicker technique, concentrating a large amount of chakra in his feet, and in a short burst, instantly appeared behind Zhou, delivering a powerful chop to his neck. He was confident that he could sever even steel with a single blow, let alone a neck. However, the result was beyond his expectations. Zhou's body suddenly disintegrated, transforming into 8 crows that cawed wildly. Soon, the 8 crows flew to a nearby tree branch and coalesced, reforming into Zhou's likeness. "With this paltry skill, you can't kill me," Zhou said leisurely, looking down at his opponent. Kaguya Wazen's expression finally turned serious, staring directly at him. "Is your true identity so shameful?" "It's not shameful, it'll just give you a big scare." Zhou suddenly shook his head. "Fine, since you're going to die anyway, let's do you a good deed and satisfy your curiosity." As he spoke, Zhou formed the hand seals to dispel the transformation jutsu. PFFT, Ashina disappeared, and a boy emerged from the white mist. Uchiha Madara. Kaguya Wazen's eyes widened, staring incredulously at Zhou as he dispelled his transformation. "You guessed right, but there's no prize." Zhou imitated Madara's usual demeanor, chuckling coldly. Kaguya Wazen's heart pounded with disbelief. He never expected this person to be Madara. But the hand seals Zhou had just formed were clearly the dispelling hand seals. He saw it clearly and couldn't be wrong. "You tampered with the hand seals you just made." This is a transformation jutsu. You can't be Madara. Coming to his senses, Kaguya-Uzan firmly denied it, though deep down he was beginning to waver. So you still don't believe me? Jojuan closed his eyes and opened them again, 2-3 Tomo Sharingan appearing in his eye sockets, crimson and bewitching. Kaguya-Uzan remained silent, recalling how Uchiha Madara had refused his plea for help in the tent earlier. Jojuan felt he at least believed him to some extent, at least his mindset was affected, and that was enough. The less judgment a person under a genjutsu possessed, the better. Whether you believe me or not is unimportant. I just want you to die with your eyes open, Jojuan said calmly. Now, you can die. As soon as he finished speaking, he quickly formed hand seals that Kaguya-Uzan had never seen before, Swamp Great Slaughter Jutsu. A vast area instantly transformed into a swamp, bubbling and gurgling as if it were boiling. Kaguya suddenly looked down and found that his feet were deeply stuck in the swamp, with dozens of mud tentacles climbing up his calves and tightly binding him. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 42 Whirlpool Maneuvering vs. Kaguya in Action. Damn it, Kaguya-Uzan realized the danger and immediately unleashed his chakra to try and break free. However, the mud tentacles were stronger than steel cables. Despite his struggles, he couldn't break a single one. The mud tentacles climbed incredibly fast, covering his lower body in just a few breaths and continuing to spread upwards, densely packed like small snakes. What kind of ninjutsu is this? Kaguya-Uzan was horrified, feeling an unprecedented threat to his life. Even his hands were now covered by mud tentacles. He was completely immobilized except for his head. Buzz! The swampy ground beneath his feet trembled violently. A massive mud dragon, tens of meters long, burst from the earth, its head raised high, blotting out the sky. Its gaping maw, filled with filthy mud, lunged fiercely at Kaguya-Uzan. Am I going to die? Kaguya-Uzan's heart turned ice cold. However, his despair lasted only a moment. Impossible. I, Kaguya-Uzan, am a peerless genius. There is no ninjutsu in this world that can instantly kill me. No ninjutsu can kill me instantly. Kaguya Musashi was absolutely confident in his strength and resolutely refused to believe that what he was experiencing was real. He saw things in black and white. If it wasn't real, then it must be fake. Yes, I must have been under a genjutsu. This is all fake. Kaguya Musashi suddenly realized this and immediately used the most brute force to break the illusion. He used the blood-stained corpse bone pulse to manipulate his bones, causing a bone spur to pierce his flesh. Ugh, he groaned in pain, his consciousness returning to normal. When he opened his eyes again, he was back in reality. The things he saw were completely different. The earth was still earth, not a swamp, and his body was no longer bound by the mud tentacles. As for the sky-covering mud dragon, it had been replaced by Jojuan. Jojuan, wielding a giant Rasengan, leaped into the air and slammed it down on Kaguya Musashi with the force of the mountain crashing down. Kaguya Musashi quickly dodged to the side, narrowly avoiding the giant Rasengan. Boom! A deafening roar shook the heavens and earth. A huge crater was blasted into the ground, sending rocks flying and dust billowing everywhere. A figure was sent flying backward from the dust, crashing through 5 or 6 tree trunks before falling to the ground. Damn it! You're not Uchiha Madara. You tricked me with genjutsu. Kaguya-Uzan spat out a mouthful of blood, scrambling to his feet, staring intently at the dust-shrouded area. Jojuan stepped out, feeling a deep sense of regret. He was just a hair's breadth away from sending him to his death. The Sharingan's genjutsu is ultimately imperfect. If only I could use the Kurama clan's genjutsu, turning the illusion into reality, it would be impossible to break, Jojuan thought regretfully. Kaguya-Uzan was still shaken, deeply afraid. He didn't know when he had fallen victim to the genjutsu. If he hadn't been so confident in himself, he would already be a cold corpse. This level of genjutsu was almost indistinguishable from the real Sharingan. Kaguya-Uzan's gaze involuntarily shifted upward, landing on the imposter Madara's 2 eyes. The opponent's left eye was a clear 3-tomo Sharingan, while the right eye was a strange pupil interwoven with red, white, and black. Kaguya-Uzan had never seen such a bizarre eye before. For some reason, the first thing he thought of upon seeing it was the Sharingan and the Byakugan. Madara was fake, But the three-tomo Sharingan was real. Kaguya Uchiha pondered this further, and a name instantly surfaced in his mind. Black Zetsu. You are Black Zetsu, he suddenly understood, and most of his doubts were resolved by this name. No wonder Black Zetsu always gouged out the eyes of the Uchiha clan on the battlefield, he had transplanted the Sharingan into himself. This method was brilliant, adding an extra bloodline limit for nothing. Why hadn't I thought of that before? Kaguya Uchiha received some strange enlightenment. He was already the most outstanding genius of the Kaguya clan. If you were to transplant eyes like Uchiha Madara's, with the Shikatsu Myaku and the Sharingan, how powerful would he become? You're wrong, I'm not Black Zetsu, Jojuan said calmly, interrupting Kaguya Uchiha's fantastical fantasy. He wasn't lying, he really wasn't Black Zetsu. You are Black Zetsu, don't try to fool me again, Kaguya Uchiha was extremely certain. He knew something about the Sharingan's eye techniques and quickly looked away, avoiding Jojuan's gaze. As long as you didn't look directly at the Sharingan, you wouldn't fall for the Jinjutsu. Jojuan shrugged indifferently, you're just wishful thinking. Think whatever you want, Black Zetsu, I believe I have no grudge against you, why did you kill me? Kaguya Uchiha demanded angrily. Shut up, Jojuan was too lazy to waste any more words with him and directly pulled a large iron rod from his pocket, charging towards him. This iron rod was ninja iron that Jojuan had stolen from the ninja iron mine. Its chakra conductivity was excellent, making it many times easier to use than a kunai. Kaguya Uchiha dared not look Jojuan in the eye, only staring at his lower body. Startled when Jojuan suddenly vanished, she retreated rapidly, drawing her spine as a weapon, abandoning side and relying solely on the sound of the wind and chakra fluctuations to counter her opponent. Bang, bang 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 bang, even without using her eyes, Kaguya Uchiha, with her rich combat experience and superb taijutsu, managed to fight Jojuan to a standstill. In a short time, the two had exchanged dozens of blows, their movements leaving trails of destruction, like two destructive machines. As the number of exchanges increased, Kaguya Uchiha gradually felt the pressure. Fighting without sight was a huge disadvantage. Most of the time, he relied entirely on instinct, but combat instinct wasn't always effective, and he began to fall behind his opponent's offensive rhythm. No wonder the Uchiha clan regards Black Zetsu as a monstrous threat. Anyone who gets involved with an enemy like that is doomed, Kaguya Uchiha secretly lamented. He felt utterly innocent, inexplicably targeted and ambushed by Black Zetsu, just like the Uchiha clan members were inexplicably targeted and had their eyes gouged out by Black Zetsu. Whether he could escape unscathed tonight was still uncertain. Many enemies used to think he was a madman, but now Kaguya Uchiha felt that this madman was nothing compared to Black Zetsu. Bone-killing slash, Kaguya Uchiha roared, unleashing a powerful strike with his spine. Jojuan didn't try to block it head-on, easily dodging the powerful attack. Boom, the ground was cleaved open, revealing a trench several meters long. Jojuan seized the opportunity when Kaguya Uchiha's old strength was exhausted and new strength hadn't yet been generated, flashing beneath him and delivering a heavy kick to his chest. Kaguya Uchiha was sent flying into the air. Ninja art, multiple shadow clone technique, Jojuan pressed his advantage, forming hand seals to create hundreds of shadow clones, then leaped up to catch up with Kaguya Uchiha. What? Kaguya Uchiha was shocked once again. How could Black Zetsu also know the multiple shadow clone technique? He didn't have time to think, not even daring to meet the eyes of his shadow clones, gripping his spine tightly and swinging it with all his might. Iron Wire Flower Dance. Chapter 43 Super Large Jade Rasengan. The spine stretched and lengthened, like an iron whip, lashing numerous shadow clones, shattering them in midair. Yet, dozens of shadow clones still managed to penetrate the spine's barrier, simultaneously striking Kaguya Musashi's chest and abdomen. Bang! Kaguya Musashi's vision blurred, forcibly suppressing the metallic taste in his throat. Lion's 3000 combo. Dozens of shadow clones roared in unison, simultaneously kicking Kaguya Musashi in the lower back. PFFT, Kaguya Musashi could no longer hold back, spitting out a mouthful of blood as his body plummeted straight down, creating a massive crater in the ground, billowing thick smoke. Damn it! Black Zetsu, you deserve to die, Kaguya Musashi's furious voice echoed from within the crater. Since his debut, he had never suffered such a loss. Since you've pushed me to this point, no matter your identity or background, I will annihilate you. His words were filled with a ruthless, teeth-gritting intensity. He was, after all, A ruthless man. Kaguya Washen immediately abandoned any thought of escape. Black Zetsu was renowned in the Land of Fire for his unpredictable and elusive escape techniques. Although he hadn't tried to escape, he knew that even if he wanted to, he couldn't. So, he might as well fight him head-on. Kaguya Washen had lived his entire life, killing countless people with his sword, and had never feared anyone. It was just a matter of who is crazier. Jojuan frowned, listening to the powerful voice of the other party, who seemed unharmed by the 3,000 consecutive attacks. He would finish them off with another move. Wind release, great slicing technique. He formed hand seals and opened his mouth to unleash a cloud of compressed air blades, which rained down on the spot where Kaguya Washen had fallen. The surrounding smoke was instantly dispersed, revealing Kaguya Washen hiding within. At this moment, Kaguya Washen's appearance had changed drastically. Every inch of his skin was covered by bones, and his tailbone extended several meters along his buttocks, thick and long, making him look like a mecha warrior. Clang! 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 The wind blade struck Kaguya Washen, producing a crisp sound like clashing metal, sparks flying. Useless, Kaguya Washen sneered, simply shielding his eyes with his hand, neither dodging nor evading, using his body to withstand the wind blade attacks. Bone form is a forbidden defensive technique of our Kaguya clan, also known as absolute defense. This level of ninjutsu can't hurt me. Soon, all the wind blades were unleashed. Kaguya Washen stood unharmed, his body covered in bones leaving not even a mark, while the dense forest behind him was shattered by the aftershocks of the wind blades, a stark contrast. Jojuan's expression turned solemn. This move from his opponent was quite troublesome. Next, it's my turn to attack. A slight smile appeared on Kaguya Washen's lips as he stomped his foot, cracking the ground, using the recoil to lunge towards Jojuan, unleashing a hand chop using himself as a weapon. Bang! Jojuan raised his staff to clash, but unexpectedly, after entering his bone form, Kaguya Washen's speed, strength, and defense all increased dramatically, causing a dull ache in his hand. You despicable little thief who only dares to hide in the shadows and steal glances, what makes you think you can kill me? Today, it's either you or me, Kaguya Washen snarled. Abandoning all defense and attacking with all his might since he couldn't meet his opponent's gaze. Every move was a desperate, life-or-death struggle. Bang! Jojuan slammed his staff into Kaguya Washen's skull, but it only sent up a shower of sparks, without causing him any real damage. Indeed, it's hard. Jojuan was secretly shocked. Kaguya Washen suddenly twisted his body, his massive tailbone sweeping out and smashing a several-ton boulder into pieces with tremendous destructive power. Jojuan dared not clash with him head-on anymore. At this moment, Kaguya Washen was like a humanoid Tyrannosaurus Rex, enduring more than a dozen blows from him without a scratch, while his small body couldn't withstand even a single touch from him. After another clash, Jojuan used the recoil to retreat dozens of meters, his hands forming hand seals as he repeated his old technique, multiple shadow clone technique, PFFT PFFT PFFT. Hundreds of shadow clones reappeared on the battlefield. Kaguya Washen licked his lips, disdainful. I won't fall for the same trick twice, he was confident. Even the opponent's main body couldn't break through the bone form's defense, so what use were the shadow clones? At most, they'd just tickle him before he could easily kill them. Is that so? This time, the technique is different, Jojuan said, demonstrating by extending his right hand, his left hand rapidly rubbing together above it, forming a chakra sphere. The hundreds of shadow clones beside him mirrored his movements, also forming chakra spheres in their palms. Rasengan, Kaguya Washen was stunned. Both the multiple shadow clone technique and the Rasengan were ninjutsu that Ashina Uzumaki had accidentally picked up. Many members of the Uzumaki clan knew them, so Kaguya Musashi was familiar with both techniques. However, he had never seen anyone combine them. He wasn't afraid of one Rasengan. But what about 10, or 100 Rasengans? Kaguya Musashi suddenly felt a bit scared, not because he wasn't ruthless enough, but purely out of instinct. Charge! At that moment, Jojuan gave the order, and hundreds of shadow clones, each wielding a Rasengan, leaped into the air. Kaguya Musashi had no choice but to grit his teeth and face the enemy head-on, charging alone into the shadow clones. PFFT 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 PFFT. At first, Kaguya Musashi was incredibly brave, wielding a spine and slaughtering his way through the enemy ranks, smashing wave after wave of shadow clones with every move, preventing them from getting close. But the shadow clones were even more fearless than him, swarming towards him like moths to a flame, using sheer numbers to overwhelm him. The Rasengan clashed repeatedly with his spine, holding its ground for several minutes before finally being knocked out of his hand. Deprived of his weapon, Kaguya Musashi was no longer as formidable and was quickly overwhelmed by the crowd. Boom boom boom, explosions echoed through the crowd as every part of Kaguya Musashi's body was bombarded by the Rasengan, as if hundreds of explosive tags had been simultaneously affixed and detonated on him. "Get out of the way," Jojuan shouted, descending from the sky with a massive Rasengan in his hand, causing his shadow clones to scatter instantly. "Ridiculous. How could I possibly die by your hand?" Kaguya Musashi roared hysterically, his eyes bloodshot, his arms crossed over his chest, bracing himself against the massive Rasengan. Boom. The power of the massive Rasengan was no joke. This attack was enough to shatter mountains and split the earth. The ground exploded and collapsed, the shockwaves surging forth, uprooting trees within a radius of nearly 100 meters, and even tearing away the topsoil. After a long while, the dust settled. You can't kill me," cough cough. Kaguya Musen scrambled to his feet, his bones cracking like a shattered porcelain doll, blood seeping from the fissures, a horrifying sight. Jojuan narrowed his eyes involuntarily at the sight. He had to admit, Kaguya Musen's bone structure was incredibly sturdy, even a supergiant Rasengan couldn't break it. Chapter 44 Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Even with the Uzumaki clan's bloodline and abundant chakra, Jojuan's previous attack had taken a heavy toll on him. He wasn't Naruto, after all, and didn't have the Nine Tails unlimited chakra supply. The longer it goes on, the more trouble I'll cause. I must kill him as quickly as possible, Jojuan decided, ordering his hundreds of shadow clones to unleash Rasengans once more, swarming Kaguya Musen from all sides, centered on him. "Come on. Do you think I'm afraid of you?" Kaguya Musen roared, his once handsome face contorted into a grotesque and twisted expression, his eyes filled with madness. Shikatsu Myaku, early fern dance, he unleashed the Kaguya clan's ultimate forbidden technique, unleashing his full chakra, truly fighting for his life. Boom, the already ravaged earth was instantly torn apart, countless bone spikes tearing through the ground, growing wildly and densely, seemingly trying to pierce the night sky. PFFT PFFT PFFT, hundreds of shadow clones were instantly pierced and exploded by the bone spikes, turning into white mist and vanishing completely. Even Jojuan's main body couldn't withstand so many bone spikes. One pierced his chest and abdomen, leaving him hanging high in the air, blood splattering everywhere. From a third-party perspective, it looked as if a forest of white bones had suddenly sprung up, as if hell had been brought to earth. Ha ha ha, Kaguya Musen laughed wildly, watching Jojuan hanging on the bone spikes, bleeding profusely. He felt incredibly pleased. "Didn't expect that, did you, Black Zetsu? I won after all. With a dance of the early fern, what can you use to fight me?" Ha ha ha, as he laughed, his bones shattered and fell off. The dance of the early fern had drained him dry, he was exhausted, his life force rapidly draining away. But he still couldn't suppress his excitement. As long as he could kill his opponent, even mutual destruction would be great. At least, Kaguya Musen, hadn't lost. Ho ha ho ha, Kaguya Musen's laughter suddenly stopped abruptly halfway through his ecstasy. The Black Zetsu corpse hanging on the bone spikes suddenly vanished into nothingness. Yes, he vanished. He didn't explode like a shadow clone, he simply disappeared into thin air. This, Kaguya Musen was dumbfounded, speechless, completely unaware of what had happened. "What are you so happy about?" a voice sounded from behind. Kaguya Musen turned around instantly, and the imposter Madara slowly walked towards him. He was on his deathbed, no longer afraid of being Genjutsu, and boldly looked up. He saw that the imposter Madara was unharmed, his face calm and collected, only his eyes had changed. The left three-tomo Sharingan had turned orange-yellow, while the right strange pupil remained the same. Izanagi, an unacceptable ninjutsu name popped into his mind, and Kaguya Musen blurted it out. The Kaguya clan and the Uchiha clan were so close, he naturally knew about the Uchiha clan's forbidden techniques. "You guessed right. It seems you're not too stupid after all," Jojuan said calmly, without hiding anything. A few days ago, he witnessed the second elder of Kaguya perform the dance of the early ferns, and he was deeply wary of the Kaguya clan's forbidden techniques. Therefore, he had already prepared a backup plan in case Kaguya Musen tried to trade his life with him without any reason. In fact, Jojuan also knew the life-trading ninjutsu. Their Uzumaki clan's forbidden technique, the Reaper Death Seal, could also achieve a one-for-one trade at its limit. However, Jojuan valued his life extremely much. If he encountered an enemy he couldn't defeat, he would just use the 5 elements escape technique to escape. He probably would never have the opportunity to use this forbidden technique in his life. Impossible. Absolutely impossible, Kaguya was firmly denied it. He simply couldn't accept it. You're just Black Zetsu, not a real Uchiha clan member. How could you possibly know the Uchiha clan's forbidden techniques? When did I say I was Black Zetsu? Jojuan raised an eyebrow. It's just that you think that way. I've always told you I'm Uchiha Madara, but you just didn't believe me. Jojuan didn't tell the other party that during the time when he was most frantically gouging out Sharingan eyes, he even dug up the Uchiha's ancestral graves. He had even infiltrated the Uchiha ancestral lands and stolen the forbidden scrolls containing the techniques of Izanagi and Izanami. In the Warring States period, there was no right or wrong, only positions. Jojuan did all this simply to survive. If he could live a peaceful life, why would he use a false identity to do such shady things? Kaguya Muzan was stunned again. For a moment, he couldn't help but have doubts. Could he have misjudged the situation? Was the opponent not Black Zetsu, but the real Madara? Otherwise, there was no way to explain how he could use Izanagi. Whoosh! Just as Kaguya Muzan was questioning his existence, Jojuan unleashed a wind blade, cleanly severing his neck, ending his life. Poor Kaguya Muzan, he died without ever knowing who his enemy was, much like his sister Kaguya Koto, who always believed she was killed by a shadow clone. In short, both siblings died in a confused state. This battle was truly arduous. Jojuan sighed, his nerves, which had been taut all night, finally able to relax. His strength was still too weak. If it weren't for Izanagi's ability to rewrite reality and make him invincible, he wouldn't have been able to withstand the dance of the early fern. This made him even more aware of the importance of his eyes. Jojuan took out a scroll, removed his damaged left eye, and then took out a pre-sealed 3-tomo Sharingan from the scroll, reinstalling it in his left eye socket and reconnecting the optic nerve. He blinked and looked around. The newly installed 3-tomo Sharingan seemed to be a little nearsighted, but the degree of nearsightedness wasn't high, and he could still see things quite clearly, a far cry from the cost of blindness. I have to use them sparingly. 3-tomo Sharingan are already rare, and now I only have 3. Every one I use is one less, Jojuan muttered to himself. If the Uchiha clan knew that their clan's Sharingan was being used as a disposable item, they would definitely be furious. After dealing with the eyes, Jojuan stepped forward, sealed Kaguya's lifeless body into a scroll, and took it away. Of course, Jojuan couldn't let him lie exposed in the wilderness. Tomorrow, Kaguya and the main Uchiha forces might gather at the Ninja Iron Mine, and it might come in handy then. At the very least, taking him back to the lab to study his bone marrow sap would be good. My foolish little brother, your second brother has eliminated a major threat for you, and you're still clueless about everything, aren't you? Jojuan shook his head and smiled, deciding that if his silly younger brother ever objected to taking the blame again, he'd give him a beating. His second brother wasn't doing this for nothing, everything had to be repaid, even if he didn't know it. Then, Jojuan cleaned up the battlefield, making sure no items that would reveal his identity were left behind, before diving into the ground and using the 5 elements escape technique to rush back to the Ninja Iron Mine. A lot had happened that night. The sky began to lighten with the first hint of dawn. Chapter 45 The Scumbag That Falls from the Sky. The following day at noon, Kaguya's main force finally met up with the Uchiha's main force at Madara's camp. Clan Chief Tajima, what's the situation at the Ninja Iron Mine? Has it been moved by the Senju clan? Kaguya asked Tajima immediately upon meeting him. Tajima had only arrived a short while earlier and, unaware of the situation, couldn't answer, so he looked at his son. Madara said, that Ninja Iron Mine is very large. It's only been one night, the Senju clan can't move it so easily. That's good, Kaguya said, relieved. The Ninja Iron Mine is of paramount importance, it absolutely cannot fall into the hands of the Senju and Uzumaki, otherwise, our two clans will face dire consequences. He was very concerned about the Ninja Iron Mine because Kaguya was already losing to the Uzumaki on the battlefield. If the Uzumaki obtained the Ninja Iron Mine, they feared they would be utterly crushed. By the way, did Muzan come here last night? Kaguya suddenly asked again. On the way to reinforce yesterday, Kaguya and Uzumaki Dragon encountered each other in the wild. The two clan leaders fought fiercely again. Halfway through the battle, Kaguya suddenly disobeyed orders and deserted the group, leaving Kaguya both angry and helpless. He knew that his son wanted to kill Uzumaki Ashina before the final battle, and that after leaving yesterday, he must have come to the ninja iron mine to look for an opportunity. He came, Madara replied. He really wanted to kill Uzumaki Ashina and asked me to join him in a night raid on the ninja iron mine. I refused, so he left alone. Left alone? Kaguya was startled, a strange sense of foreboding creeping over him. He left and never came back. No, although Kaguya was confident in his son's strength, he couldn't help but feel anxious now. After his daughter's death, he only had this one son left, and he couldn't afford to lose him. In his anxiety, he questioned Madara. You knew he was going to cause trouble for Uzumaki Ashina alone. Why didn't you stop him? If you couldn't stop him, how could I? Madara retorted calmly, not taking Kaguya seriously. Uchiha Tajima tried to smooth things over. Musen's strength is formidable. Even if Hashirama, Tobirama, and the others joined forces, they couldn't stop him. Clan Shifino doesn't need to worry. Kaguya Ano's face flushed red and then turned pale, but he couldn't lash out. He knew that Madara wasn't at fault, but he couldn't stand Madara's arrogant attitude. Just a junior? I'm a senior on par with your father. Let's launch a full-scale attack on the ninja iron mine now, he said, eager to find Uzumaki Ashina and question him about his son's whereabouts. Alright, Uchiha Tajima understood his feelings. So the two clans didn't rest and immediately mobilized their forces, marching towards the ninja iron mine in a grand procession. Before the troops even arrived, Uzumaki Ryu and Senju Batsuma had already received the news, and the two clans were waiting outside the valley. Uzumaki Ashina, you get out here, Kaguya Ano shouted angrily as soon as he reached the foot of the mountain, displaying the same fiery temper as Kaguya Musen. Uzumaki Ryu chuckled upon hearing this. This old bastard was indeed still brooding over the murder of his daughter. Luckily, he had arranged for Ashina to escort a wounded back to the village, otherwise, things wouldn't have been safe. Kaguya, you, the head of a clan, openly challenge my son. Are you determined to bully the weak? Uzumaki Ryu mocked. Enough nonsense. Kaguya ignored Ryu and questioned Hashirama and Tobirama beside him. My son came to challenge Uzumaki Ashina to a duel last night. Were you intercepting him? He knew that Uzumaki Ryu and Senju Batsuma had only arrived today, and only these two could threaten Kaguya Musashi last night. Madara frowned upon hearing this, finding Kaguya's actions incredibly foolish. Kaguya Musashi was a major force, and with his situation unclear, if he hadn't been intercepted, wouldn't this question be tantamount to telling the enemy that one of their main forces was missing? The battle hadn't even begun, and he was already weakening their own morale and boosting the enemy's confidence. As Madara had predicted, Tobirama, a shrewd man, immediately gleaned the key information from Kaguya's words. Kaguya Musashi came last night. Hashirama, looking rather foolish, was about to truthfully answer that he hadn't intercepted Kaguya Musashi when Tobirama interrupted. That's right, Kaguya Musashi did come last night, but we didn't intercept him. Kaguya breathed a sigh of relief. Madara was surprised. Would someone as cunning as Tobirama pass up an opportunity to demoralize his side? Tobirama paused, then continued, we killed Kaguya Musashi directly. What? These words caused a sensation. The Kaguya clan members were all incredulous. The young clan leader was killed. How is that possible? The young clan leader is so strong, even if he was ambushed, he could easily escape. Madara's face darkened. He had indeed misjudged Tobirama. Tobirama was even more cunning than he thought. He didn't believe Kaguya Musashi had perished, thinking Tobirama was deliberately saying this to undermine the Kaguya clan's morale. Nonsense, Kaguya Inu retorted angrily. He might have believed Tobirama if he said he had intercepted Kaguya Musashi, but to say he had killed him was utterly unbelievable. What, you think I'm lying to you? Tobirama spoke with disdain, but inwardly he was secretly pleased. His purpose in lying was indeed to demoralize the Kaguya clan, but there was also a touch of mischievousness involved. The thought of having completely fooled Kaguya Inu gave him a tremendous sense of accomplishment. I won't lie to you, Kaguya Musashi came to challenge us last night, and my brother and I killed him together. As he spoke, he subtly nudged Hashirama's elbow. Hashirama, though not the brightest, wasn't stupid. He immediately understood his brother's meaning and nodded seriously. That's right. The commotion among the Kaguya clan members intensified. Bullshit. You two bastards couldn't have killed Musashi, Kaguya Inu roared in fury. Tobirama sneered, how, don't you think about it? If Kaguya Musashi hadn't been killed by us, how could such a grown man just disappear without a trace? Kaguya was stunned, genuinely taken aback, filled with doubt and apprehension. He looked around and, sure enough, saw signs of a fierce battle nearby, his heart pounding wildly. Tobirama pressed his advantage, if you still don't believe me, then I'll have to show you Kaguya Musashi's head to put your mind at ease. Before he could finish speaking, a dark, spherical object was suddenly thrown from behind, landing right in front of Kaguya. The scene fell silent instantly, everyone turning to look at the spherical object. Musashi. The next second, Kaguya screamed in agony. The spherical object was Kaguya Musashi's head. What? The young clan leader is really dead, my god. The Kaguya clan erupted in chaos, collectively boiling over. Madara froze, then stared incredulously at Tobirama and Hashirama. Good heavens! You two brothers really killed Kaguya without a fight. Little did Madara know, the Tobirama brothers were completely dumbfounded at that moment. Chapter 46 The real Black Zetsu meets the fake Black Zetsu. Tobirama, did you really kill Kaguya Musashi? Senju Butsuma asked in surprise. No, Tobirama quickly denied, finally daring not to lie anymore. Senju Butsuma frowned, then where did Kaguya Musashi's head come from? I don't know either. Tobirama was on the verge of tears. The reason he had mentioned bringing out Kaguya Musashi's head was entirely to unsettle the Kaguya clan and make Kaguya even more ruthless. Little did he know that before he could even finish his act, a huge scapegoat had fallen from the sky. It was too sudden, so sudden that he wasn't prepared at all. Who is framing me? Tobirama turned around, trying to find the culprit who had thrown the head, but behind him were a large group of Senju and Uzumaki clansmen, all looking at the two brothers with awe. Musashi, you died so tragically. At the foot of the mountain, Kaguya held his son and cried his heart out. After his daughter's death, his only son had also been brutally murdered. Kaguya couldn't accept this reality, and her composure crumbled. The clansmen around her were all filled with grief. Clan chief, please accept our condolences, Uchiha Tajima advised, understanding that their allies were in poor condition and that now was not the time to fight. Let's retreat. Retreat? What retreat? Kaguya suddenly jumped up, drawing her spine as a command flag, and roared, charge! Kill Tobirama and Hashirama at all costs to avenge my son. With that, she charged ahead, the Kaguya clansmen following closely behind, their battle cries deafening. Uchiha Tajima was helpless. He genuinely felt that fighting now would be disastrous, but Kaguya was blinded by rage and couldn't abandon his allies. The two clans were now inextricably linked. In the end, he had no choice but to issue the order, leading the Uchiha clan into the battlefield. Kill! Uzumaki Ryu and Senju Butsuma showed no hesitation, charging ahead and bearing the brunt of the pressure. At this point, whether Kaguya Musashi was killed by Tobirama and his brother was no longer important, what mattered was how to defeat the enemy. A grand battle between the four clans thus unfolded, with earth-shattering explosions constantly resounding across the battlefield. Fire release, Phoenix Flower Technique, Water Release, Water Dragon Bullet, Iron Wire Flower Dance. This battle is truly spectacular. In an inconspicuous crater, Jojuan, now Black Zetsu, cautiously peeked out, gazing at the devastating battle before him, and couldn't help but exclaim in amazement. Although the four clans' forces totaled less than 2,000, they were all ninjas, their strength no less than that of an army of 100,000. Sorry, Tobirama, I made you take the blame for me, Jojuan silently apologized in his heart. Initially, he hadn't intended to frame Tobirama, he only wanted to find a suitable opportunity to throw Kaguya out and severely damage the Kaguya clan's morale. However, Tobirama's boasting became increasingly outrageous, eventually even uttering phrases like Kaguya head. Jojuan had no choice but to help him achieve this feat of public display. Jojuan wasn't worried about Tobirama. Tobirama had matured, as long as he didn't court death, even if he incurred the hatred of the Kaguya clan, his life wouldn't be in danger, unlike Ashina, who was still a sapling with a very high risk of dying young. Let's fight. It'll be my turn to appear soon. Jojuan thought to himself, his gaze sweeping over the Sharingan eyes of each Uchiha clan member. His Black Zetsu armor wasn't worn for nothing, it would be put to great use today, his contribution to the clan. Meanwhile, several miles away from the ninja iron mine, in a dense forest, A hideous, jet-black head emerged from the ground. A familiar aura. The hideous head took a deep breath, sensing intense chakra fluctuations in the distance. There's no mistake. I never expected that after sleeping for so long, I'd encounter the reincarnations of Indra and Ashura the moment I emerged, the ugly head muttered to itself, a wicked smile playing on its lips. Let's go see. I hope this Indra will be more obedient, mother. No matter the cost, I will definitely rescue you. Those two bastards, Hagoromo and Hamura. The ugly head was none other than the embodiment of Kaguya Otsutsuki's will before she was sealed away. To rescue Kaguya, it had laid out a 1,000-year-long scheme throughout the ninja world. Kaguya's will originally had no name. Later, seeing that the white Zetsu army left by her mother resembled its own form, except that the white Zetsu were pure white while it was pitch black, it named itself Black Zetsu. Therefore, the name Black Zetsu was an absolute secret, unknown to anyone in the entire ninja world. Over the past 1,000 years, Black Zetsu had orchestrated countless conspiracies to rescue his mother. His shadow was behind every major upheaval in the ninja world, but he could not act arbitrarily. Although the Sage of Six Paths is dead, his chakra still floats in the world, silently protecting the ninja world. The Sage of Six Paths is the only being Black Zetsu fears, so he only dares to work from behind the scenes, spending most of his time sleeping in the shadows. This time, he has broken his decades-long slumber and is causing trouble once again. Following the aura of Indra, Black Zetsu quickly arrived near the ninja iron mine. In the distance, the four major ninja clans were locked in fierce combat, the entire battlefield crumbling and shaking the earth. Black Zetsu immediately locked his gaze on Uchiha Madara in the crowd, for no other reason than the overwhelming aura of Indra emanating from him. Then Black Zetsu locked his gaze on Hashirama, who was also locked in battle with Madara, and sensed the same strong aura of Ashura emanating from him. Interesting. Even without my interference, Indra and Ashura are sworn enemies in this life, Black Zetsu chuckled sinisterly. Hagoromo, you are indeed powerful, but your two sons are nothing more than toys to be manipulated at will in my eyes. Who is he? Black Zetsu was suddenly horrified, his expression as if he had seen a ghost. He saw a person in a pit not far ahead. The person was completely black, like a humanoid monster sculpted from mud, sneaking around spying on the battlefield. Boom, Black Zetsu's mind was struck dumb, as if by a bolt from the blue. That humanoid monster looked exactly like him. How is this possible? Black Zetsu couldn't believe it. I was created by my mother herself, the embodiment of her will. How could there be a life form exactly like me in this world? Black Zetsu didn't connect it to transformation techniques, because his existence was top secret. No one knew him, no one had even heard of him, so how could someone use transformation techniques to impersonate him? Could it be? An extremely absurd guess was born in his mind. Could it be that the embodiment of my mother's will is not just me? Is he my brother or sister? Chapter 47 We're at war, brother. The thought was extinguished by Black Zetsu the moment it arose. As the embodiment of Kaguya's will, he inherited all of Kaguya's memories and knew that Kaguya had left him with only her will, nothing else. After a moment's hesitation, Black Zetsu made his decision and stealthily approached his opponent. His opponent was so mysterious and enigmatic, he should investigate first, no matter what. Jojuan had been quietly observing the battle from the shadows. It's about time to make my move. Seeing that over a dozen Uchiha clan members had fallen, he became restless, intending to infiltrate the battlefield and gouge out their eyes. Suddenly, a powerful premonition of danger struck him, like prey being targeted by a ferocious beast. Jojuan trusted his intuition and instinctively turned his head. The two Black Zetsu stared at each other, wide-eyed. The scene was incredibly awkward. At that moment, Jojuan thought of many things. He'd been using the Black Zetsu alias for 4 years, always very careful in his appearances, and he'd long anticipated running into the real deal. After all, even the most careful person can make mistakes. But this day had come far too suddenly. At least give a heads up, bro. Black Zetsu paused, then said in a deep voice, who are you? Whoosh, Jojuan fled without a word. He was joking, even against Kaguya Musashi, he needed Izanagi, and he had no confidence in dealing with a real Black Zetsu. To destroy Black Zetsu, he'd need to fuse the Rinnegan and Tenseigan. He and Kaguya Musashi were simply not on the same level. Black Zetsu was initially stunned by his opponent's swift escape, but quickly gave chase. After a few steps, he sensed danger. The opponent's speed was outrageous, leaving him more than 10 meters behind in a single burst. if he let him get away. Black Zetsu immediately formed hand seals and slammed his fists into the surrounding soil. 10 directions solidifying rock technique. The surrounding soil instantly solidified, turning into an impenetrable wall, impossible to penetrate with any escape technique. Clang, Jojuan slammed into the iron wall and bounced back. Who exactly are you? Black Zetsu coldly questioned, his curiosity growing stronger than ever before. With his escape route cut off, Jojuan wasn't in a hurry to flee anymore. He rubbed his forehead heavily, then turned back to face Black Zetsu with a profound smile. The day has finally come, he said calmly. Black Zetsu, actually, now is not the time for us to meet. Black Zetsu's alarm bells rang. He knew that Black Zetsu was a name he had given himself, there was no reason for anyone else to know it. He took a deep breath, his gaze sharpening further. Stop talking nonsense, just tell me who you are. 1,000 years have passed, and you're still so impatient. Jojuan sighed softly. Black Zetsu remained silent, only staring intently at him. It's normal that you don't know me. Fine, things have come to this, I shouldn't hide it from you anymore, Jojuan continued. It was fate that led us to meet. On the day Ragnarok arrives, all who defy us will die. Speak like a human. Black Zetsu gritted his teeth. Calm down, Jojuan soothed him, secretly gathering chakra behind his back. This is a long story, but I'll make it short. I'm actually, Jojuan deliberately dragged out the last syllable, building anticipation. Black Zetsu held his breath, inexplicably tense. Your long-lost father. The worst thing was the sudden silence. Black Zetsu's eyes turned red with anger. You bastard. Wind release, Shuriken, taking the initiative. After the delay, Jojuan successfully unleashed his ultimate move, a giant shuriken formed from chakra appearing in his hand. Black Zetsu was startled, the shuriken contained immense power. He was about to dodge its edge when, unexpectedly, his opponent didn't attack with a shuriken, but instead swung it at his head. Bang! A deafening explosion rang out, instantly blasting through the soil that Black Zetsu had solidified into an impenetrable wall with his ninjutsu, revealing a hole several meters in diameter leading directly to the ground. Jojuan jumped up through the hole without hesitation. Black Zetsu was enraged and gave chase. Unforgivable. I'll kill you. Black Zetsu had never been so furious in his life. Kaguya was his Achilles heel, he lived for Kaguya. Jojuan's audacity to defile Kaguya in front of him had undoubtedly ignited his killing intent. Let's see where you can run to, Black Zetsu pursued relentlessly, like a madman. Jojuan had barely landed when he used his transformation technique, turning into a blood-soaked Uchiha clansman, and ran desperately towards the battlefield, shouting, Black Zetsu has appeared. Clan Chief Tajima, save me. He channeled his chakra into his shout, and the sound of his voice echoed throughout the entire battlefield. What? Black Zetsu, the Uchiha clansmen, caught up in the heat of battle, were suddenly horrified, unanimously recalling the terror of having their eyes gouged out. Bastard! Uchiha Tajima looked in the direction of the voice and, sure enough, saw clansmen being chased by Black Zetsu. He would never forget Black Zetsu's hideous face, even if he were burned to ashes. Amaterasu, Tajima's 2-3 Tomo Sharingan instantly switched to main Gekyo Sharingan, focusing his chakra on Black Zetsu, a tear of blood streaming down his face. True killing power with eyes. Black Zetsu's killing intent surged, deciding that no matter the other's identity or background, just for the fact that he had desecrated his mother, he had to grind him to dust. Unexpectedly, his body suddenly became burning hot, and the next second, a ball of black flames ignited him out of thin air. Black Zetsu screamed in agony, the black flames on his body burning brighter and brighter, instantly covering his entire body. Get out of the way! Madara Uchiha abandoned his final battle with Hashirama and charged headlong into Black Zetsu, yelling at Jojuan. A large group of Uchiha clansmen followed closely behind him, abandoning the fight and focusing solely on Black Zetsu as their enemy. Great Fire Annihilation, Fire Release, Great Fireball Technique. Hundreds of fireballs erupted simultaneously, carrying earth-shattering power. Jojuan had already dodged to the side when Madara warned him, but he still felt a wave of heat wash over him. Hundreds of fireballs struck Black Zetsu almost simultaneously, and with a deafening boom, the mountains and forests were instantly engulfed in flames, and a massive mushroom cloud rose into the sky. Black Zetsu, worthy of being the embodiment of Kaguya's will, withstood the attack head-on without being blasted to smithereens. He only screamed in agony as he fled into the distance, the black flames enveloping his entire body burning fiercely and unquenchable. "Chase!" Madara roared. "This time we must annihilate Black Zetsu completely. Once and for all, kill Black Zetsu, use Black Zetsu's life to appease the Uchiha spirits." The Uchiha clan members roared in fury, all breaking away from the battlefield to relentlessly pursue Black Zetsu. The Kaguya clan members were dumbfounded. They were completely bewildered by their allies' bizarre actions. "Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? We're at war, bro." Chapter 48 The Black Zetsu who made a great contribution. This is an unexpected surprise. Jojuan was stunned, never expecting the Uchiha clan to be so recklessly impulsive. To kill Black Zetsu, they'd even abandoned the battle, concentrating all their forces in pursuit. It was absurd, making the Kaguya clan feel like they were dreaming. Uchiha Tajima activated his Susanoo, charging ahead, carving a path through the sea of fire ignited by his fire release techniques, occasionally throwing out his 8-span Magatama, blasting through rocks and leaving his 2 main Gekkai Sharingan eyes streaked with blood. Black Zetsu isn't so easy to deal with. Jojuan was secretly alarmed. Although Black Zetsu had been hit head-on by Amaterasu, and Amaterasu is considered the strongest physical attack, once ignited, it would only burn its target to ashes, he still didn't think Black Zetsu could be killed. After all, he was the ultimate boss of the ninja world. Almost without hesitation, Jojuan immediately blended into the Uchiha clan and went with the flow. "Uchiha Tajima, are you crazy? Come back!" Kaguya's hoarse curses rang out behind him. "Stop right there, Black Zetsu, even if you run to the ends of the earth, we'll grind you to dust." The Uchiha clan members chased after him for miles, constantly cursing. Several times, Black Zetsu tried to escape underground, but each time he was blasted out by Uchiha Tajima's Yosakuni no Magatama. Black Zetsu's feelings at this moment were somewhat similar to those of Kaguya's clan members. He was completely dumbfounded. He had no idea what was happening. He was just chasing after a bastard who had insulted his mother, and he had ended up with a large group of Uchiha clan members fighting him to the death, especially the Reincarnation of Indra, whose killing intent towards him was almost tangible. He had only been asleep for a few decades, but the whole world felt so unfamiliar that he couldn't accept it. It must be that bastard. In a flash, Black Zetsu thought of Jojuan. He must be impersonating me and making enemies of the Uchiha. Damn it, who is he? Black Zetsu was both furious and terrified. This ninja world was no longer the one he knew. Whoosh, another 8-foot-long Magatama was thrown, which Black Zetsu narrowly avoided. A nearby mountain was caught in the blast, collapsing half of its slope. Uchiha Tajima nearly ground his teeth to powder, then suddenly stopped, drawing a Susanoo bow. He condensed 6 8-foot-long Magatama, compressing them into the shape of arrows, and aimed at Black Zetsu. 8-foot arrow, Uchiha Tajima shouted sharply, releasing his grip abruptly. Everyone felt a bolt of purple lightning rip through the sky, instantly piercing Black Zetsu's back and pinning him to the ground. "Ah!" Black Zetsu screamed in agony. He had never suffered such a fate in his life. Pinned by the 8-foot arrow, he could no longer move, Amaterasu raging and burning him. Great fireball technique, great dragon fire. The Uchiha clan seized the opportunity, gathering all their chakra to unleash their strongest ninjutsu. Boom! Hundreds of fire-style ninjutsu struck Black Zetsu simultaneously, their power more terrifying than a missile explosion, melting vast swathes of rocks into lava. Again, Madara actively commanded his clansmen. And so another round of fire-style ninjutsu erupted. Boom! The Uchiha clansmen used fire-style ninjutsu to cleanse the ground 3 times before stopping, melting the forests within a kilometer radius into a lava lake, completely obscuring Black Zetsu's presence. "Did you finally kill Black Zetsu, father? I avenged you. Those who insult the Uchiha clan, though far away, shall be punished." Many Uchiha clan members wept with joy, feeling as if they had won a great victory, even more exciting than conquering the Shinobi Iron Mine. From now on, they would no longer need to worry about the safety of their eyes on the battlefield. Even Uchiha Tajima breathed a sigh of relief, releasing his Susanoo, blood and tears streaming down his face. Back to the Shinobi Iron Mine, a fierce battle awaits them now, and there's no time for celebration. Uchiha Tajima immediately led his clan back to support the Kaguya clan. Jojuan glanced deeply at the bubbling lava lake and quietly left. The Uchiha clan members all believed they had killed Black Zetsu, but only Jojuan knew that Black Zetsu was not dead. Earlier, when everyone was unleashing a frenzied barrage of fire-style attacks, Jojuan, Hiding in the shadows, carefully sensed with his Kagura mind's eye and discovered that the fire-style attacks had not harmed Black Zetsu. His aura remained stable until it abruptly disappeared at some point. As the embodiment of Kaguya's will, Black Zetsu, like Kaguya, was immune to ninjutsu. Even unconventional methods like Amaterasu and Yasakuni no Magatama could not kill him, only sealing techniques could deal with him. Although Jojuan was proficient in the Uzumaki clan's sealing techniques, he did not believe that he could seal Black Zetsu with his current strength. He would allow him to run rampant for a while longer. Retreat. Everyone retreat. When Uchiha Tajima rushed back to the ninja iron mine, he witnessed the Kaguya clan's crushing defeat en route. Kaguya Ino harbored deep hatred for Hashirama and Tobirama, desperately wanting to kill the two brothers. However, she had encountered unreliable allies who abandoned her without a word. Her clan alone was no match for the Uzumaki and Senju clans, and could only flee. Clan Chief Ino, we've arrived, you bunch of bastards. What are you doing here now? Kaguya Ino roared in fury. Already grieving the loss of his son, he was now utterly abandoned by his allies, and at this moment, he felt like tearing the Uchiha clan apart. Uchiha Tajima, knowing he was in the wrong and in high spirits after eliminating Black Zetsu, did not refute him, only saying, "We'll help you retreat. The Uchiha clan's ability to cover the retreat is truly remarkable." Hundreds of clansmen joined forces to unleash fire release, creating a raging sea of fire that easily neutralized the pursuit of Uzumaki and Senju. Black Zetsu deserves the greatest credit for this great victory. Ha ha ha! Looking at the enemy army fleeing in disarray on the other side of the sea of fire, Senju Batsuma couldn't help but burst into laughter. The Uchiha clan hated Black Zetsu as much as Senju Batsuma loved him. Similar situations often occurred in his battles against the Uchiha. Black Zetsu would often defeat the Uchiha without a fight upon his appearance, helping them win countless battles. Only today was it more extreme. Clan Chief Batsuma cannot be careless, Uzumaki Ryu warned him. Black Zetsu is an evil and unpredictable being. He might turn against us at any time. Black Zetsu's intrusion into Uzushio village some time ago is still vivid in his mind. The Dragon Clan chief is right. Actually, if Black Zetsu's reputation weren't so terrible, I'd really like to have a drink with him, Senju Batsuma said with a smile, somewhat regretfully. I understand. Tobirama suddenly had a flash of inspiration. Black Zetsu wouldn't appear for no reason. He must have killed Kaguya Musou and is trying to frame me. Everyone was slightly taken aback. This kind of framing is fine, Senju Batsuma pondered for a moment, then waved his hand dismissively. Anyway, we've already been at odds with Kaguya for a long time. Tobirama, Hashirama, from now on, consider it your killing of Kaguya Musou. It'll even help you increase your prestige among the other ninja clans. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 49 Return to the Jianghu. Tobirama felt his father's words were a bit thoughtless. Black Zetsu had thrown such a huge burden of blame, how could he accept it so easily? He wasn't the Senju king of blame. Turning to look at Hashirama, Tobirama wanted to signal his older brother to offer his opinion, since they were both supposed to share the blame. However, he saw his brother acting like a lovesick fool, constantly glancing furtively at Mito, completely oblivious to what had just happened. Never mind, Tobirama sighed inwardly. He knew he couldn't rely on his brother's intelligence, he had to rely on himself. He decided that after this battle, he must quickly develop the Flying Thunder God technique. Once it was successfully developed, he could easily escape even the most dangerous situations and wouldn't fear the wrath of the Kaguya clan. Uzumaki Ryu said, although we defeated Kaguya and the Uchiha today, the matter concerns the ninja iron mine. They won't let it go easily, there are still several fierce battles to fight. Senju Batsuma nodded, and the two clan leaders then led their people back to the valley to build fortifications. Madara's temporary camp. Clan Chief Tajima, I demand an explanation, Kaguya Ino angrily questioned the allied forces. Behind him, the Kaguya clan members glared angrily, their losses inflicted by the Uchiha's hasty retreat. Uchiha Tajima didn't shirk responsibility, apologizing, today was indeed our fault. Black Zetsu's actions affected the overall situation. Clan Chief Ino knows we have a blood feud with the Black Zetsu. We cannot rest easy until Black Zetsu is dead. Fortunately, today the entire army mobilized. and we successfully blasted Black Zetsu to ashes." As he spoke, a look of joy appeared on Uchiha Tajima's face, a stark contrast to Kaguya Ino's grim expression. "Although we were defeated today, our clansmen are no longer worried. Tomorrow, we can fight freely on the battlefield, serving as the vanguard. The vanguard would bear the most intense firepower, and Uchiha Tajima hoped to use this to offset the Kaguya clan's losses." Sure enough, Kaguya Ino's expression softened slightly. "I hope Clan Chief Tajima keeps his word. I don't want to see this happen again," he sneered. Of course, Uchiha Tajima straightened his back. With Black Zetsu dead, no one could affect the Uchiha's mentality anymore. He even imagined the Uchiha clan transforming into tigers unleashed from their cages on the battlefield tomorrow, rampaging and slaughtering at will. That night, Uchiha Tajima held a small victory celebration at the camp. Defeat was defeat, but Black Zetsu's death was great news for them, worthy of universal celebration. At the celebration, the Uchiha clan members laughed and drank, eating and drinking heartily, making the atmosphere more lively than New Year's. The Kaguya clan members were mesmerized. If an uninformed person were here, they would think they had successfully captured the ninja iron mine. "We both suffered defeat, but they're having a victory celebration while we have to all wear white mourning clothes. How can the difference between ninja clans be so great?" a Kaguya clan member sighed. With their young clan leader dead, the entire Hyuga clan grieved, their atmosphere somber and dejected. Unlike the Uchiha, they couldn't possibly hold a banquet, they could only watch enviously. "Everyone, please make do with the food and drink. Once we return to our clan territory, we'll have an even bigger victory celebration. I've waited so many years." Finally, Black Zetsu is dead. How foolish the Hyuga clan was. To guard against Black Zetsu, they spent a fortune buying sealing techniques from the Uzumaki clan, not realizing that eliminating Black Zetsu is the best solution. In this respect, the Hyuga are far inferior to us. From this day forward, Black Zetsu is a thing of the past. We no longer need to fear him. The Uchiha clan members laughed gleefully, venting years of resentment. This scene was witnessed by Jojuan, hidden in the distance. He suddenly felt a pang of pity. He couldn't bear to shatter their beautiful dream. He could only imagine the surprise these dancing Uchiha clan members would feel when he returned to the battlefield tomorrow, disguised as Black Zetsu. The victory celebration was short-lived, ending just after midnight. Uchiha Tajima, with his keen sense of proportion, was ambitious and eager to make a name for himself on the battlefield the next day. After a night's rest, both clans were fully prepared and charged towards the ninja iron mine with renewed vigor at noon the following day. "Didn't you suffer enough yesterday? You still dare to come looking for death?" Senju Batsuma sneered. "Kill, enemies meeting are bound to be fiercely hostile." Uchiha Tajima, disdaining idle talk, led his clansmen in a direct charge, while Kaguya followed closely behind her allies, letting them bear the brunt of the firepower. Fire release, great fireball technique. Water release, great waterfall technique. As soon as the horn sounded, an earth-shattering force erupted. This was the war between ninjas. The Uchiha clan's morale was sharper than ever before, tearing a gap in the Senju ranks like a dagger. The Kaguya clan members immediately swarmed forward, engaging them in close combat. The Senju clan possessed superhuman strength, putting the Uchiha clan at a disadvantage in close combat. The Kaguya clan, however, had no such weakness. Every Kaguya was a born taijutsu master. This was a tactic prearranged by Uchiha Tajima and Kaguya Inu. Focus fire on the Senju, with a primary objective of eliminating Hashirama and Tobirama. Multiple shadow clone technique, diamond sealing barrier. Uzumaki Ryu, of course, wouldn't stand idly by while his ally was targeted. The Uzumaki clan members conjured tens of thousands of shadow clones, surrounding the enemy with overwhelming numbers. Kaguya Inu, bloodthirsty, relentlessly attacked the Hashirama brothers. Although young, Hashirama's strength was comparable, his wood-release technique incredibly powerful, and even when combined with Tobirama, they were evenly matched. Uzumaki Ryu, your opponent today is me. Uchiha Tajima activated Susanoo, his massive form several meters tall, terrifying like a demon god, intercepting Uzumaki Ryu and casually slicing through hundreds of shadow clones with a single strike. Jojuan, transformed into Black Zetsu, had been observing the battle from afar for a long time. Seeing the war reach its climax, he became restless. To avoid a repeat of yesterday's clash with the main culprit, Jojuan used his Kagura mind's eye to sense his surroundings. Confirming he hadn't found Black Zetsu, he confidently made his move, fleeing towards the battlefield. Mito, like a blooming battlefield rose, wielded dozens of Vajra chains, engaging an elite Uchiha Jonin in fierce combat. After dozens of exchanges, a chain shattered a fire release technique, striking the opponent squarely in the heart. The Uchiha Jonin's chest caved in, and he was shot backward, dead. Sister is so fierce, Jojuan secretly admired, quickly teleporting forward. He casually wiped the corpse's face, and a pair of fresh, warm 3-tomo jade pendants appeared in his hand, his practiced movements heartbreaking. Heartache for the Uchiha clan. Mito suddenly sensed something and turned to look, seeing a black shadow flash by. Black Zetsu, she pondered. She didn't like Black Zetsu, but she couldn't deny that Black Zetsu's appearance on the battlefield was very beneficial to them. Chapter 50. That old scoundrel Uchiha has ruined me. Jojuan didn't expose himself immediately, but instead lurked in the shadows, trying to find out what was going on. Now that the Hyuga clan had the caged bird seal, it would be difficult for him to obtain the Byakugan, so every Sharingan he could accumulate was valuable. He originally intended to follow his sister and scavenge for scraps, but after killing that elite Jonin, Uchiha Izuna targeted Miro and engaged her in a fierce battle. The two fought to a standstill, neither able to gain the upper hand for the time being. Jojuan had no choice but to go to another battlefield, specifically targeting the Uchiha corpses to gouge out their eyes, a method that was both safe and unlikely to expose him. Several tens of minutes passed, and Jojuan had reaped a considerable harvest, obtaining more than 10 Sharingan in total, ranging in quality from 3-tomo to 1-tomo. As Hashirama still not learned Sage Mode, unbeknownst to him, Jojuan approached the location where Hashirama and Kaguya were locked in fierce combat. He saw Kaguya wielding a spine and launching a powerful attack, while Hashirama's wood release technique was proving ineffective against him. Without a doubt, if Hashirama knew Sage Mode, Kaguya as well wouldn't have been able to jump up. I wonder where Hashirama learns Sage Mode in the future. I really want to ride on his coattails. Just then, Jojuan saw an Uchiha clansman being struck in the chest by a Senju clansman, his entire body flying backward like a bloodied sack. His eyes immediately flashed with a sharp light. Another job. He quickly approached the man, but was caught on the blast of a ninjutsu during his escape. Great fire annihilation. Madara gathered chakra and unleashed a massive fireball. The Senju clansman fighting him dodged and retreated, the fireball slamming directly into the ground. Bang! With a deafening roar, the ground shattered, flames surged forth, and a dark figure leaped out. No way, am I that unlucky? At this moment, Jojuan was utterly speechless. He hadn't expected to be accidentally injured even while hiding underground. His luck was truly terrible. Madara, seeing someone leap out of the sea of fire, initially assumed it was a Senju clansman. However, when his gaze fell upon the man's jet black body, the 6-tomo in his eyes shrank to the size of pinpoints. Black Zetsu, he was shocked. What? Black Zetsu? These two words successfully triggered the Uchiha clansman's nerves, and everyone turned to look. Black Zetsu, you scoundrel, you're still alive. Impossible. You can't possibly still be alive. The Uchiha clansmen couldn't believe it. They had witnessed Black Zetsu being blasted to ashes by fire release yesterday, and even held a small victory celebration. There was no reason for him not to be dead. Damn it, could he have escaped yesterday? We need to see him alive or dead. We didn't see his body, and the victory celebration was hastily organized. A large group of people were heartbroken. The facts were undeniable, and they had no choice but to accept the devastating news of Black Zetsu's return. Uchiha Tajima was the most decisive. He cleaved the Vortex Dragon in two with a single strike, his eyes fixed on Jojuan, activating his main Gekkyou Sharingan to kill him again. Amaterasu, PFFT, just before being ignited by the black flames, Jojuan used his substitution jutsu in time, a rotten wooden stake shielding him from the raging fire. Over there, Uchiha Izuna, with his sharp eyes, spotted Jojuan's position behind the substitution jutsu and immediately gave chase. Kill him, this time. We must completely annihilate Black Zetsu. If Black Zetsu doesn't die, the Uchiha clan will never have a chance to rise again. The Uchiha clan members went berserk, swarming out, each with a ferocious expression, chasing Black Zetsu like madmen. On the battlefield, the Uzumaki, Senju, and Kaguya clans witnessed this scene and felt a sense of deja vu, as if the events of yesterday were repeating themselves. Uchiha Tajima, you come back here. Kaguya roared furiously. However, Uchiha Tajima was blinded by rage, his mind consumed by only one enemy, Black Zetsu. Kill Black Zetsu, and I'll give you whatever you want, he roared, issuing a brutal order to his clansmen. He manipulated his Susanoo, charging ahead and hurling the Yosakuni no Magatama like it was nothing, blasting away swathes of rocks. Uchiha Tajima, you son of a bitch, Kaguya was filled with grief and rage, trembling like a heartbroken woman abandoned after being seduced. He remembered Uchiha Tajima's confident promises from the previous night, that they would fight with unbridled abandonment, acting as the vanguard, but their actions were even more absurd than the day before. At this moment, he even suspected that Uchiha Tajima, Senju Batsuma, and Uzumaki Ryu had conspired to manipulate him. Kill, annihilate the enemy. The battlefield situation changed rapidly. Senju Batsuma and Uzumaki Ryu quickly reacted. Instead of pursuing the Uchiha, they joined forces to encircle and annihilate the Kaguya clan, attempting to expand their gains and inflict irreparable damage on Kaguya. I hated so much, we could have fought. That old Uchiha bastard ruined me. I refuse to accept this. Kaguya's mentality exploded, even more so than when her children died. She roared to the sky, tears streaming down her face. Retreat. Everyone retreat. On the other side, Jojuan was being relentlessly pursued by the Uchiha clan. Now that his presence had been exposed, he no longer thought or about obtaining the Sharingan. He only wanted to draw aggro and divert the enemy's forces, relieving some pressure on his father's side of the battlefield. He used the wind release technique from the 5 elements tempering techniques. A hurricane enveloped him, making him as light as a feather and moving with incredible speed, often covering several meters in a single step. Boom boom boom, hundreds of fireballs bombarded him from behind, occasionally interspersed with a few Yosakuni no Magatama. He dodged them all using the senses he gained from Kagura's mind's eye. Black Zetsu, if you have the guts, then fight me to the death, Uchiha Tajima roared, feeling incredibly frustrated at not being able to catch up with the enemy. What makes you think I have the ability to fight a clan leader? Jojuan scoffed, his cowardice evident. Watch me blast you to pieces with one arrow. Uchiha Tajima could no longer contain himself. He drew his Susanoo great bow, using the 8-foot Magatama as an arrow, aimed, and fired. Although Jojuan didn't have eyes in the back of his head, he used his Kagura mind's eye to catch the trajectory of the 8-foot arrow and narrowly dodged it. With a loud bang, a large patch of dense forest nearby was shattered. Is that all? Jojuan was quite disdainful of Uchiha Tajima's accuracy. To deal with this pursuit, he had even replaced his right demon eye, preparing to risk 2 lives to play with the Uchiha clan. He hadn't expected that after chasing him for so long, they couldn't even take one of his lives. Just as he was thinking this, Jojuan suddenly felt a burning sensation on his back, and the next second, black flames ignited on his body. Damn it, I set the flag too early, Jojuan cursed inwardly, feeling like an old general on a stage, covered in flags. The experience of being burned by Amaterasu was extremely painful. Flesh and blood were burned inch by inch, and the black flames burned ever brighter and could not be extinguished. It's hit, Amaterasu has burned him, let's see where he can escape to. The Uchiha clansmen behind were overjoyed to see Amaterasu work, and even Uchiha Tajima's lips curled into a gleeful smile. But the next second, Black Zetsu's figure vanished into thin air, and then reappeared unharmed in the distance. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all, see you in the next video.